All right, we are at it again with another episode here. Um, so you know me, I'm not one for introductions or outros, so let's get straight to the point. Welcome to another episode of Allow Discussion, and we got two subjects to talk about today. That is, are AAA games unsustainable, and can Sony elevate AAA, really any publisher at this point in time? Um, so let's begin. Actually, so if you are on YouTube, it's also on what do you call it? Illicit therapy. You'll find it on YouTube. These are getting recorded. And actually, I found the easier way to do this, which I am ever so grateful that I found this. So I'm actually pretty glad. But yeah, over the course of a couple of days, and shout out to Lionel for giving me the second topic about what can people do to elevate um, AAA games. That's one of the subjects, but are AAA games unsustainable? And this particular idea came from Sean Layton. He mentioned a while ago that when he had an interview, I think after he left Sony, he had to interview a couple of different people stating about how they're doing what they're doing with PC strictly due to the fact, yo, what's going on, man? You want to jump in, Jemiah? They essentially are mentioning, or Sean Layden actually states that the problem with all of this is that, these AAA games are getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And there's not a lot of games or not a lot of money to really be thrown into these things. You got actors and actresses that comes up on there. You got the graphics. You got the size of the games. It's just a lot. It becomes really, really expensive. And actually, there was a report about Grand Theft Auto 6. No, Grand Theft Auto 6. Where once it got leaked, they found other files. They said that it was basically being created since 2014, and that it's basically going to take $2 billion to make this game, just this game. So when Sean Layton actually mentions that this was unsustainable, because people had the question of why the hell is Sony not sticking to their consoles? They're going to PC. And for what? You're making enough money, right? I don't understand. I don't get it, people say. And he mentioned, it's not enough money. These games are really, really expensive. That is one of the reasons why the games are $70 right now, because of the cost of these games. And unfortunately, it drives the industry. The console users are expecting bigger and better technology and experiences, better acting, better looks, and that's going to cost a lot of money. No one wants to spend $70, right, on a 4 to 6 hour game, which that brings into question about other games or other services such as Game Pass, PlayStation Plus, the tier systems and things of that nature. And honestly, I see where he's coming from. But you know what else is also interesting too is that there are a lot of PlayStation fans that are definitely not going to like Sean Layton for going to Tencent. Tencent has been on this kick in general to focus on, games as a service, cell phone games. They're a parent company of many different other companies. You're probably playing a Tencent game and don't even know it. One of the things I believe is the Souls games. Since Tencent owns part of From Software. And people jump the gun. I'm all over the place, but I'm gonna swear to you, I'm gonna come around. I'm come around. Trust me, I'm gonna come around. But you got stage block. Get your ass in here. Yo, stage block. What's going on, homie? Yo, can you hear me?
What's good?
Oh, what's going
I'm just
on?
having this conversation with this guy. Oh my god, about Xbox. Sorry.
What did he say?
No, this guy was he was cool. His name is McQuack, but like um I was talking to K Mega put up a post of like all his games that he's gonna be playing, and he put out he was essentially saying, oh, when I get told I don't have anything to play on my Xbox for 2022, and he literally shows all his games that he has. It's quite an impressive list of games. But the saying Xbox doesn't have any games has never meant anything revolving around multi-plat. It has everything to do with internally made games. So, or even third-party exclusives. Something that just makes Xbox stand out. Anything, and and the quack came after me for telling him that's never what that whole statement had to do with in context. So I was like, oh my god. So.
Oh, so you just told me what happened. This isn't relating to the topic, right?
No, I was telling you what I was doing.
Oh, okay. All right. I was like, wait, what? Wait.
What's good?
Not much. I mean, this is the thing too about this whole Xbox and PlayStation thing, man. I mean,
yeah.
I just want to ask anybody and everybody, isn't this kind of getting tiring a little bit? Keep talking about the same fucking subject. I mean,
we're getting older, of course.
Bro, like, it's getting old. Can anybody just find a better topic to talk about? Jesus, you know how hard it was for me to come up with these two topics, and one of them I didn't even come up with.
But the thing is that in a roundabout way, even if we talk about these types of topics, it goes back to square one again.
Right. Well, the topic is this, right? If Xbox people, look, really what boils down to, and Jemiah could speak on this, what it comes down to is, like, I'm not pocket watching people at all. Yeah. His ass is going to sit there and buy an $1,800 fucking graphics card, but that's him. Some people use their money to buy escorts. I don't know. Like, I'm not going to get mad at you for what you're going to do. If they enjoy it, I guess I'm not pocket watching, but I'm attention watching. I don't know. Like, when it comes to the gaming community, I just don't like the hypocrisy when people sit there and say that they're gamers, but then they always find themselves in topics that doesn't really relate to games or relates to the other platform that they don't like. It gets old. It's old as shit. I mean, I get it. I'll keep talking about it so long as, I can keep finding like different, avenues and shit like that to discuss. I don't have a problem with it at all. But I mean, you get to a point where it's like, Jesus Christ, man. Like, for real? Hold on, let me find my fucking... Oh, there we go. I gotta get another beanie. Oh no, the beanie bust open. It said pop. Let me see. So anyway, the topic for anybody that's here, right? Okay. It's just these two topics here. There was a story about Tencent, right? And how Sean Layton went over to Tencent. That was the story. So Sean Layton, yo, Lionel, what's going on? Yo, thank you for the topic, man. I appreciate it. But there was a story about Tencent and how Sean Layton went all the way over to Tencent. And then everybody started like bashing Sean Layton. Like, how could you? This company only cares about games as a service and profits. Oh no. Bitch, every fucking company thinks about profits.
I understand where that comes from, though.
What? What does it come from? Where does it come from, Mr. Liberal?
Oh my god, are you serious? Bro, are you really gonna do this? Okay, fine. You win. It's all about the whole industry consolidation situation. I think it has more to do with his warnings about how that will affect the AAA game space, things like that. Now he's gonna pretty much join forces with one of the largest conglomerates who is going to end up, affecting the AAA game space themselves. But honestly, it doesn't really matter to me because he's a businessman, and whatever decisions he makes can probably lead Tencent to, make high quality content and choose how they do things more effectively. So, in the end, is it really going to be a hard fall from a high place? No, I doubt it. With a guy like Sean Layden there'll probably be higher quality games coming out.
Well, that's what I wanted to actually talk about. That's exactly the point that I wanted to kind of bring up. It's very simple, right? He mentioned some things that was kind of like a warning of sorts. or Ragnarok, if you speak of the gaming industry, where he states that AAA games are going to be unsustainable eventually, right?
Mm.
I just saw an ad, not an ad, I'm sorry. I just saw a piece of news regarding, I said this earlier, about God of War, right? Not God of War, sorry. My brain is on God of War right now. About Grand Theft Auto 6, right? And how they started making this game in 2014. These are accusations or leaks, or I'm not exactly sure, but just the implications just kind of made me want to talk about the subject. They said, right? So let me ask you about this stage. What is the most expensive game ever created?
Most expensive one? I mean, as far well, are you
That you
including
know of. That you know of. You don't have to be like on
microtransactions
point.
and everything like that?
You don't have to be on point, but that you know of.
I mean, I would say the most expensive games out right now are actually like free to play
No. What do you mean? Wait, hold on. What do you mean?
because they're drawing in so much money from people.
No. I mean, how much does it cost? How much does it cost to make?
Oh, in budget. Okay. As far as budget, okay. Yeah,
But
it's a AAA games, like the Uncharted's, like the God of War's, like the Halos. Yeah,
how much
the really
money?
big
How much
blockbuster
money?
GTA's and stuff. Over $100 million growing.
All right, cool. So that was that thing. So the leak that they said, right?
Yeah.
Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to be 6 billion. Oh, sorry, excuse me, $2 billion to make.
What?
$2 billion to make Grand Theft Auto.
Oh, but I can understand why because
No, wait, and we all can understand why. That's the thing.
no, yeah, but that's gonna GT is heading into the metaverse, so I mean I can understand that.
Yeah. And we're going to talk about exactly like the implications of a game that's that much money. So a
Yeah.
lot of PlayStation fans, they like their quality games, you know what I mean? They like their actors in the games, they like their graphics and art style or whatever you want to call it, and they want it to be exclusive to the platform. So Sean Layton mentions to people two things. The reason why games are $70 is because of this, the blooming budgets. And the second thing that they had a problem with is what was it? Um why games are why is it going on PC? That's what I was going to say. So why the games are going on PC? Because the PlayStation fans seem to not understand why the games will even go to PC at all, right? They just didn't get it for some reason.
Yeah,
So
console traditionalism. I think that's a problem.
yeah,
They've been used to a world where consoles were isolated in an isolated space. When they were children, PC gaming was the king, and of the gaming space as far as the quality games are concerned. Eventually, when games became consoles became more computer-like. They've always been computer-like, but I mean, they involved the 3D computer aspect of it truly in most cases, instead of just being about bits and things like that, and side scrolling and all that stuff. The PC games started jumping ship to console, and then it started being fully integrated. PC started losing their exclusives, and then they've had to deal with it multiplied for years. Now, the tide is completely turning around, where consoles are are pretty much full on, well, slightly cornered off PCs, where you can essentially experience a slightly gimped versions of what's superior on PC today. So I mean, and all you really need to do is buy a high-end PC later on in the future if you want to have access to everybody's exclusives, because everybody's putting their games everywhere now.
well, it's not
The console
PC.
space has grown to its limit at this point. So I mean,
But every game is going to its limit, and it's not a PC. Jemiah, what you got to? But before I go on, Jemiah, stage.
yeah.
You're starting to really sound like an independent single woman with a dog right now.
What do you mean?
Please change your smoke detector. Thank you.
Smoke detector.
Yeah, your smoke detector is beeping in the background. Like right
I
there.
don't have a smoke detector.
Well, what's that
I don't have
beeping
a
in the
smoke.
background?
Oh, it's probably my fan.
The beeping?
No, I don't have any beeping.
No, I'm just fucking with you. Go on, Jemiah. Go on, man.
What do I?
He said a lot of shit.
Well, he mentions PC and how PC is taking over again. I just wanted to get your input on that.
I mean, as far as I guess cost of entry, PC has gone down a lot. So I guess there's more people who are willing to get the PC, and it's become a lot more dumbed down than PC. It's become more plug and play for PC. So PC is getting more popularity because of that. I don't think it's anything to do with like mind sharing anything. It's just that PC is more fucking accessible now for people, and people are now getting into it because it's not like intimidating for them. And it's going to continue to be that way. And more people are going to go to PCs is because of the leaps and bounds these GPUs and CPUs are going to just like push up for the next couple of years. Like PC's about to take off like in another direction. You know what I mean? Like the consoles are just too slow to keep up when it comes to performance. And I think a lot of devs are starting to realize, like, you know what? I do want to go back to PC. I was reading an article about the Tekken 8 dev. He says he's a huge PC gamer, and it's kind of unfair that consoles don't have the power PC has. You know what I mean? And like Dave was saying, a lot of these games on consoles and PCs, like they aren't gimped on console. Like let's keep it a buck. Like these games are designed for consoles, and when they're ported to PC, there's not any like huge like leaps and bounds or improvements because the devs just aren't going that far. You know what I mean? Like the Insomniac wanted to, they can push PC to the limits if they wanted to, but then it would make consoles look so inadequate. It would just be a bad move on their part. You feel me?
I I have a different viewpoint on this. I am a strong believer of diminishing returns. Um, I think the reason why the budgets for games are blooming the way that they are is the size of the games themselves. See, back when PlayStation 1 happened, you had basically a few rooms that was disguised as outdoor, or exteriors, you know what I mean? And then when we had PS3, you had these bigger environments. And once again, the budget bloomed, but they weren't detailed and they didn't have enough processing power to fill these places with things. I was playing The Last of Us Part 2 yesterday, and I'm looking at one of the abandoned houses, and they had like headphones in there, pizza boxes, and stuff like that. And it made the house feel, like lived in. Problem here is that The Last of Us Part 2 is a linear experience. And to have someone dedicate their time and effort to lay these little items down, even if you could create an AI to lay that shit down, you still need a lot of fucking people to make these things. All of the little items that could possibly be lying on your bedroom floor or whatever the case is, you need a lot of people. So I think it's no longer a processing power situation. I think it has all to do with the amount of people that needs to be paid to create these assets or rooms or environments, which, as Stage adequately put, I think all these games are going to go into like a metaverse situation. And if GTA 6 is going to cost $2 billion to just make, even if they do,
Who said that?
it's in the space. It's a leak. I believe it. I believe it.
I don't. There's no way that this game costs $2 billion to make.
Well, you still gotta advertise your game too. A lot of times the advertisement is in the budget. But even if, right, let's just say $1 billion to make, because these games are already like 300 million anyway. I mean, they're far from $1 billion, but not that far to make it feel like it's impossible to be. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the last time I heard about Grand Theft Auto is that it was supposed to be like the GTA Americas. So they have multiple different places or some sort of ever-changing environment for people to kind of play around in. Like they have their systems in place, but then like the environment itself may be changed into a different continent or whatever the case is. Or maybe it's just in Florida. I'm not exactly sure, but The bottom line is that it is increasing in price, and for the things I mentioned, it's increasing in price because of that. These games are more and more, they're larger, and I think that PC players are not that focused on like graphic output. You know what I'm saying? They want like performance, but they're not as focused on graphic output, ironically, than the console players are. Console players are spoiled. They want everything for less because they're so used to the fucking the price of entry. You know what I mean? To be very cheap and then get the best bang for their buck at that point. What's happening to the industry, I believe, is that um, you can't just be stuck on one platform. It's not even just video games. It's when Apple created their what do you call it? Their iTunes store.
Technological synergy.
No. But then when they created their iTunes store, there were a lot of apps that were exclusive to Apple, and then eventually they started to go everywhere the hell else because they wanted the more people touch your product, the more potential you could milk them for money, which leads to games as a service. That's how they're going to make up for the loss of money and still try to keep the price down, and ultimately it's going to make them more money than keeping it on the motto of even if they did place it everywhere, it's going to make them. I mean, fucking Fortnite, what does that do, $2-3 billion a year? That's what they're looking for. All these games are looking for that metaverse feeling. So you guys tell me what you think of that idea.
Well, yeah, it's not going to be more than one or even two Fortnites, or you know what I mean. Like this, you're not going to be able to have that many games that are going to be service-based games. It's not possible. Like World of
I know
Warcraft,
that.
for the longest time, it was the champion of MMOs. I think now probably Final Fantasy 14 is probably taking over.
Hmm.
But like, you're never gonna get too many games because there's not enough people who are into those genres who are gonna play those games. You know what I mean? Like, people gotta think you can have 100, 500 million player base, but maybe only 30 million people are gonna be interested in playing an MMO. Period. No matter what game comes out, no matter how good it is. So I just don't see I don't see the market shifting where Sony wants to make 10 games as a service and it's going to be sustainable for them to support those games. Only one or two are going to succeed, you know what I mean? The rest of it's going to be whatever it is, like you have Apex where you have Fortnite, Apex, PUBG, Halo, fucking, what's that one, the Rogue Company. All those games cannot be number one. That's why Fortnite just takes most of the cake always. So it's like, I don't see them going and making all these games as a service to sustain their AAA franchises because either way, you only have a certain amount of pool of players and a certain amount of cash you can get from these players. So I think they gotta be careful on what they focus on.
And what about you, Stage? What you got? What you think about this?
Sorry, what happened?
What do you think about what we're talking about?
Sorry, something was going on in the background.
All right, so
Sorry, could you?
He was changing his smoke detector.
Yeah.
no, it's still beeping.
Oh, Jesus Christ! Here we go.
So
What's up, bro?
basically, to condense what I was saying is that games are not sustainable because the budgets are inflating, and so what they're doing to mitigate that particular side effect is they want to put their games everywhere. Even when Apple had their iTunes store, there were a lot of apps that were exclusive to Apple, and then the same people that were making these apps were like, "This is not enough. We need to put it everywhere." And that's when you started seeing. So what you described earlier is happening beyond gaming. They want to put their games everywhere.
Microsoft Word.
Well, hold on. I'm explaining to you. I'm just trying to explain to you so you can answer. So yeah, they're putting their games on everything, right? But that still doesn't solve the issue of R&D for making the versions of that respective unit or whatever that hardware. So in this particular case, right? Yeah, your game's gonna be more money, but these developers are looking for what you were considering a metaverse to sustain themselves. It may not be exclusively games as a service, but I think they're probably going to go the route of Rockstar, right? and have a single player experience, but then use that same environment to make it into like a multiplayer experience where you can
Mm.
cash in on things.
Yeah.
He mentioned though that you can only have so many creme de la cremes. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
there's gonna be it's gonna come down to a couple. That's what it's gonna always end up with these large, these huge ventures. It's eventually gonna they're gonna see which one works, and the thing is, the ones that end up working probably gonna like be less than a handful. And the thing is that like those ones are gonna be like really really big, like how like multiples the size of what you see like COD or like Battlefield being right now, like for FPS or something like that. Let's just say you had like a whole metaverse thing attached to it, kind of like with GTA. Look at what it's done. It's turned GTA into an exponential selling. Literally, that game it came out in 2013 and it's still outselling. It's one of the top selling games today.
I,
It's outside of there's only one game that's outsold them, and it's Minecraft.
well, the thing is, I don't think that they knew it was going to be that big. The same way that Epic.
I understand.
No, I'm just saying Epic didn't
Yeah.
know either how big Fortnite was going to be, and they adjusted accordingly. So
No. But the thing is, the way GTA started, it went up, and then they didn't have the online yet. And then when the next gen hit and the online came, boom! It just went up into the stratosphere. That second release, oh my god!
Grand Theft Auto evolved from their original,
Yeah,
their
and
original
then they put
plan.
out the PC version, and then that was the other part. But the fact that it's everywhere, it's ubiquitous, and it has that little metaverse aspect to it. It gives and your ability to do what you want in the world with your friends and things like that.
I feel like that's an important component for sure. I feel like that is extremely important. The fact that it has its own laws and stuff like that set up for where you
Mm-hmm.
can do whatever the hell you want to within that space. I feel like that freedom that you have
Yeah,
in there.
Second Life. Yeah.
Yeah, so it almost plays like a violent second life. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So here's the thing though, maybe these publishers, right, are like Sony for instance. Maybe they're like, yo, I don't want it to be creme de la creme. I just want to cover all aspects because you're not going to. People that play World of Warcraft, they don't want Grand Theft Auto as an MMO. They want World of Warcraft or anything like it, and vice versa. So maybe Sony and friends are looking to kind of like strategically place a games as a service within their respective areas. So the bottom line that I'm trying to make is that is like what Sean Layton said. It is
Yeah.
unsustainable,
Mhm.
and it's unfortunate because you have brats that are in the gaming community that wants these crazy fucking experiences for $13 in the game. You know what I'm saying? And they may just drop it when they feel bored with it. And these publishers are like, yo, I can't spend this much money just for somebody to just buy it for the first 2 months and be done with it. You know what I mean? I don't want to break even anymore. You know? So
Yeah.
when I was
I mean,
thinking of,
Ubisoft is even doing this too with Assassin's Creed. I mean, but
yeah,
it's not.
I
It's
think
not becoming a
the
metaverse
motto is
situation.
Grand Theft Auto. You can make a single player experience
Yeah,
and then flip that
make
world
it
into like a
a live service
multiplayer
type of thing. Yeah,
thing. You know, that's what I think.
Yeah, she's trying to enter
yeah, he's trying to.
thing.
Wait, my bad. I wasn't even looking at that shit, yo.
You can take GTA Online, right? But then look at Red Dead Online. The same company, same huge budget, same talent, and Red Dead Online just did not. And they had to, it was basically fucking done. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So even with a huge company like Rockstar, you just can't keep coming out with these online games and service bangers, and I think that you're gonna get, this huge audience. A lot of I know that GTA player base is that big. There's got a lot of people spending money a lot, like NBA 2K.
Yeah.
The people who are willing to play the game are willing to spend a lot of money, and that's why it seems like the games are juggernaut. And also, a lot of times they're paying those shark cards with GTA by purchasing. So every time you bought the game, you get like a fucking shark card and shit. And it was cheaper to just buy the game again and get the shark card to get the money than it was just to buy the card, the money alone. So they did a lot of trickery with GTA. Not only did they release it 10 fucking times on 5 different fucking platforms and shit, it seems like. So I think GTA is very skewed. But a game like Genshin Impact, I think it costs like $100 million to make, and they're making money hand over fist. You know what I mean? So
But Grand Theft, oh wait, Grand Theft Auto and Red Dead are very fucking similar. They replaced the cars and
Yeah,
horses.
one was huge and one failed. As
Yeah,
far as I know.
well, one again, they're very similar, but in a different time frame. And I think they were cannibalizing each. Well, they tried to cannibalize, and it failed, and Rockstar dropped it. Yo, Enter, what you guys say about this? Welcome.
Yo, what's going on, man?
Yo, it was good, homie.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, loud and clear.
I was in the beginning, and I've been out for like a couple minutes, but, I wanted to comment on the title. Is that okay? Like the title of the space?
Yeah, sure.
It really is an interesting conversation because whether or not these games they remain to be a sustainable business model. If you recall that one Sony guy, I don't remember his name, but I tuned into that conference and it put all of us to sleep when they were talking about super techie shit. You know what I'm referring to? That one conference.
What's his name?
The creator of the PlayStation.
Mark Cerny.
Mark
Yeah,
Cerny.
yeah. So
I wrote the PS5.
you guys recall that conversation wasn't for the layman. That was
That's shareholder
for
shit.
someone who's very indoctrinated into technology. But the big takeaway I had from that was that the new technology would basically make game development much easier. So you'll recall, like, games in the beginning of the console generation don't look anything like the swan song titles at the end. Say on the PS2, God of War 2018 and Final Fantasy 12.
My bad. Hold on. Yo, somebody's landline is going crazy.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Motherfuckers in the office right now.
I'm actually in my parents' house right now.
I figured. I was like, why do you have a landline? Yo, what?
Nah.
Motherfuckers.
But as I was saying though, like the swan song titles like God of War 2018, Final Fantasy 12, Last of Us, Ghost, those titles, they really, as the developers learn to harness the power of the console, I think development gets much easier. But at the end of the day, the projects continue to be more and more ambitious to the point where, as you mentioned earlier, that we're talking multi-million dollars, huge development teams, and then outsourcing to other development teams, and then 5 to 6 year development time. So whether or not this is sustainable, I think we see the writing on the wall. It's not going to be sustainable to the capacity that we've enjoyed these AAA games in, say, 2018 to 2020. It was just a plethora of those. But as these projects become more and more ambitious, I think there will be few and far between, and we're going to continue to see those service games. But the thing I really wanted to come up here and say is, because the landscape has changed, because service-based games are such a profitable source, and they all want to catch lightning in a bottle and replicate what Fortnite did. Everyone has been trying to find their Fortnite. That's going to be the path. And I know there's a lot of angst and worry with Sony having 10 service-based multiplayer games in development and the amount of revenue they're dedicating to that. It would be, I wouldn't even call it fear-mongering. It would be a reasonable conclusion to come to that they're going to be pulling away from the things that made us love Sony. But with all that being said, the industry has changed, the landscape has changed, and because this has happened, I think it's time for gamers, right, to adapt a little bit as well. And we can say, well, fuck that, I don't want that. This is the reality. You can bitch, you can cry, you can moan, but we're having this conversation because this is the nature of it. So it's time for gamers, I think, to be more open-minded, to embrace those indies, to embrace those AA projects, because these big Ghost of Tsushimas and God of War 2018s, we might be lucky to get 2 or 3 a year, but we're going to be peppered with fucking indie and AA bangers. This year's indies have been great, and I think real gamers who want to occupy their whole calendar of years of the year need to embrace more diversity in their palette with smaller titles that are amazing, because as you said, Is it sustainable? It does not seem to be that way. Is it going away? Absolutely not. But once again, we're probably going to be lucky to get 2 or 3 a year from first-party studios, and that's if we're lucky.
Let me you made some good points, and I'm gonna hold off on my response. Jim Dad, what's going on, bro?
Hey, not much, man. It's about time we get a space back. I mean, like, what has been going on? Like, I know I've been out of the game, but I was like, Chico, why ain't you starting those spaces in a long time? But no, I wanted to comment on the title too, if that's okay, because I just popped in.
Yeah, before you comment on there, I think what's going on with the spaces in general, I think it's fizzling. Spaces in general are fizzling out. I'm noticing the numbers, not even just for mine, just in general. It's just, I don't know what it is. I don't know. Maybe it's the time of the year because it is fairly new. But at least that's what I'm noticing. It's relegated to like crazy fucking.
You can probably only have your life threatened so many times by a bunch of fucking ex-bot fucking dick suckers before you say, you know what, maybe I'll just stop going in these.
Yeah, which is unfortunate. You got a lot of fucking gamers. Well, you know. So let me say this, right? The subject is about what Sean Layton said a while ago about why games are $70, right? And why Sony is going over to the PlayStation or so to the PC. And people were like, well, what the fuck is Sony doing? They're, people, what do you call it again, Stage? You said it was console traditionalists?
Oh, yeah. Console traditionalism, because the thing is that it's the way they were raised in their generation.
And I think it's tribalism, too. They don't want it. They want to be that there, you know what I mean? They want to validate their...
Because they got... It's not really the outside aspect that bothers them, but really the internal warfare, because, I mean, look at the internet right now. The PC gamers are literally prodding at console gamers as they lose exclusive, because this has been a thing that's been on the internet for a very long time, Yeah, they are.
Pro PC, and I don't have these interactions with people.
Are you guys watching these guys like Pratanga and Alex?
Bro, those guys are not PC dudes, bro. Like, they have shitty ass fucking rigs. They barely play PC games. I don't think. No. Let's keep it a stack, bro. Like, these dudes
are fucking powerful. Alex single-handedly turned Kofi into a PC gamer, man. Come on,
bro. Kofi was the mad guy. His fun sucked, and he ended up going over to PC. He was the same one talking shit about Spider-Man and Puddle games. So let's keep it up, bro.
Dude, Kofi used to have to tell.
Wait, Stage. I just wanted to Stage. I just wanted to figure out. Hold on, Stage.
Calm down.
Stage. I just wanted to see what word that was. Hold on. Let me explain the thing. So essentially, games are going to go to. It's not sustainable. These games are becoming more and more expensive. There's rumors that Grand Theft Auto 6 has a budget of $2 billion because it's trying to be like.
Right here, and it like. Probably starts at its head, 400 million plus. Next is Cyberpunk 2077, 300 million plus. Then you got Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, the 2009 version, 250 plus. Final Fantasy 7, 145 plus. Halo 2, 120 plus. There's no way that this game costs 200 billion.
Every time. Okay, let's give it a benefit of the doubt, right? Let's just say let's split the difference, right? Let's say $1 billion, right? Either way, I know. Either way, those games, the games that you mentioned, they're just increasing in price. So it is unsustainable. And what I believe is happening is that they are going to go the Grand Theft Auto route or Fortnite route, where they're creating these. This is what Sony was doing anyway. They have like 10 fucking games as service games to subsidize some of the loss that they're not willing to take and or break even with. They want more money. And that's why we're going to get these games as a service, whether they're trying to make like a what do you call it? Like a metaverse type situation. I think Sony's plan, because you can't have too many of the same genres or too many of the same game in one genre. I think they're going to space it out into different areas. Like, for instance, the people that play Grand Theft Auto and use that as like a metaverse, they're not going to play Final Fantasy or World of Warcraft and vice versa. So, Jim Dad, what you gotta say about that?
I just wanted to, point one thing out. when we look at a game like Grand Theft Auto, we always have to work with the notion that the exception is not the rule. So when we look at Grand Theft Auto and we try and draw comparisons to the rest of the industry, it's really hard to do that, right? Because Grand Theft Auto 5 is the most successful single entertainment property in the entire world across all mediums. Grand Theft Auto 5 sold 90 million copies as of 2020, and as of 2020 also generated $6 billion in revenue. So with that being said, these games are only going to be funded so far as what they believe their potential is to sell. These publishers are not going to put this type of money unless they obviously believe they can not only recoup the cost, but it be profitable to something they're satisfied with. So when we look at a game like GTA 5 and we say these budgets are rising, is it sustainable? I mean, games like God of War, or Spider-Man, games, established franchises, established brands, or in this case, the single most successful entertainment property in the world. I don't.
Can I jump in real quick?
Yeah.
Because like I was gonna say, PC mobile games like Monster Strike have made over $9 billion, almost $2 billion. I mean, almost $10 billion. Plus, One's Dragons, I don't know what this game is, $8.5 billion. Fucking PUBG Mobile, 8.4 billion. Yo, mobile games destroy console and PC combined. Mobile games make so much fucking revenue, it's not even funny. If they really wanted to, they could just make mobile games and be fine and make way more money and have less costs than these AAA bangers.
Why do you think Konami left the video game console industry and went completely pachinko machines and mobile?
So I'm gonna say, for you to say that GTA is like the best, the most revenue,
No.
it's not even.
I didn't say revenue. I said it's the single most successful entertainment property in the world, selling 90 across all mediums, selling 90 million copies.
It's over 100.
Well, that was
No, he said for 20. He said for 2020.
2020, and that statement.
That's just for that year.
Well, I'm just saying, like I said, we all know why everybody shark cards within the game. So let's not pretend like they have 90 million players playing the game. It's just a bunch of people
not 90.
playing the game.
Yeah, but 90 million copies sold.
Well, let me let hold on, wait. Yo, Jemiah and Energy, let me let Jim Dad go on and then.
Yeah, my bad.
Alright.
Is he still in there?
I think he went back to listening or something.
Oh, he says request to speak. Let me hear. Hold on. Okay, so he must have got kicked out. You seen the trying to steal people's thunder, cheat.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Oh yeah, there you go again. Go on, man. What you got to say about all this?
Can you guys hear me okay?
I can hear you well.
Okay, yeah, I went to the blockchain. I was in the store talking. But no, I will say this. I'm 35 years old. I think some of you are around the same age. And I'm just going to talk on the title of this whole thing. Are AAA games unsustainable? I'm going to say no. It's not that they're unsustainable. It's just that the games are not what they used to be anymore. Mobile gaming is killing AAA games. Case in point, this whole Marvel Midnight Suns thing, everybody was all hyped up about it and all excited about it until we get actual gameplay and we see that it's a freaking mobile game. And I'm like, dude, are you freaking
Let me just
kidding me? Like,
one second. Jemiah, your mic is like all jacked up, man.
What do you mean?
It's like loud as hell.
It's under my
Okay. Can you guys hear me better now?
No, you're fine. I just wanted to say that it was like a lot of like background noise, like fans and shit. Go on.
Oh yeah, I had it hooked up to my Bluetooth and stuff. But yeah, no, I'm just saying that it's just I just the thing that disgusts me is that we can't get any good games anymore. Like I will forever, till the day that I die, talk about how terrible EA was that you killed an entire franchise of Titanfall that is still being played today. And but you change it over because we got all these kids coming around, and I get You know, you go where the money is, but you just leave everybody else behind that built your freaking platform. And I don't care. Yeah, it's a numbers game. I get all that, but that is it just disgusts me as a gamer.
It's
As
unforgivable.
many years that I've been playing games and stuff, I just went and bought, even though I already have the Regalia edition of Horizon Forbidden West. I wanted the collector's edition, so I went and got the collector's edition from GameStop because it was $100 less. I was like, why wouldn't I want to go get that collectible? But I'm just saying, man, it's just, yes, I believe that they are sustainable, but we've completely gone away from all that. And I get that it's all about money and stuff, but it doesn't make any sense that games are not fun anymore. It's not. I mean, you got game. And I'm probably going to offend some people because I've already posted it. I will forever take shots that I'm not a gamer, that I'm not going to get excited about some game about playing as a freaking cat. I don't care about that at all. Now, I get that there are people that want to play that. That's fine. But why are you getting rid of all of the other games and all the other genre of games just to put out one game that I'm just like, seriously, like, where's all the other games that were like 10, 20 years ago? And now you want to remaster all these old games and stuff. Okay, that's fine. But why are you getting away from the games that built your freaking company? That's what I don't understand.
Well, because
So that's my whole rant.
let me say this, right? In terms of those games that build your company, that again is money. You already know the answer to it. It's all money. No, people are getting older. You know, that's one big issue. People are getting older. I don't know whose noise that is in the background. Like somebody's slamming some shit. I don't know what it is.
Are you sure it's not beeping though?
I think I'm hearing stuff now, but there's nobody slamming anything.
It was. It's probably your ass, and you guilty about it. The motherfucker slamming shit on the stick. I'm like, yo, what is going on, yo? Like, what are you doing?
Did you hear that? No, sir, I didn't hear anything.
Yeah, fucking suplexing shit in the background. You know, so anyway, I think yeah, it's money. The people don't want it anymore. You said you 35 years old, I'm 37, right? Our taste is going to that's why Fortnite is hot right now. That's why fucking whatever music they have going on now, I don't know what the fuck you call it anymore. I'm getting old with this shit. That's why that's hot now versus what was hot 15 years ago or whatever the case is. That's why a lot of people, for instance, I'm gonna say Beyonce, right? There's a lot of Beyonce fans, but her album really didn't do that well like the other ones because the new demographic or the new demographic of people that don't like that type of music like that anymore. So things change. Unfortunately, you can ask all these questions or you could go with the flow, like what Inner Cheat was saying. You can go with the flow and just kind of, you know, vote with your wallet to a degree, but this is where things are going to go. Like, you got to understand that the gaming industry is fickle as hell. If it has such a hold on things, then PlayStation would have never became what it is now today if it wasn't going to die on the verge of death. Same thing with Nintendo when they made with the Wii U. It's just straight up that's what's happening.
Like Xbox itself, this is the third party are doing what they need to do when it comes to third party AAA games. So let's not pretend like it's not like 10 games coming out that's on AAA bangers. You know what I mean? We got Fallen Wars, we got Forspoken, Pistol, and fucking December AAA quality. So you just made out item. And also, like I said, Xbox has not dropping any games. Probably
on that.
Yeah, Fable, Perfect Dark, was good. It will be a different sentiment. I just think the industry is going through a little bit of a rough turnaround when it comes to the new systems.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you on that because, I mean, I love Xbox and I'll always be for Xbox, but I'm getting more games that I'm willing to buy for my PS5 than I am out of my Xbox. So I have to agree with what he just said about Xbox with that.
Now, like I said, I think Inner Cheap really has some really interesting things to say about that, though. Like this, it's changing. You know, people see this money, and gamers are too fucking fickle. They will go where the wind blows. You know what I'm saying? You may think that you know, that's the problem with the Japanese gaming on PlayStation. Like people don't like, you can't expect these companies to keep making things because you want it and they ain't making no money. I implore you, wherever you work at, let's say your company, let's say you're the owner of the company and you're not making as much money as you were making before. You're gonna hire more people. You don't have the money for it. You got to cut for you. It has to evolve and change. You can't go into like a temper tantrum like, oh, what's wrong with gaming now? You know, why are they doing this? It's all money based. That's what it always has been. The thing is, you want to kind of put your chips onto a company that is willing, you know, to at least try to appease both people. You know what I mean? Try to at least create a balance of sorts. You know, it's clear as day that the wave right now is to go with the cell phones. That's the wave. If you really want to take it there, you making like $6 to $8 billion a fucking year for shitty ass games. Like when I say shitty, I mean like it didn't cost you $1 million to make this bitch type shitty.
Yeah, yeah, he's so right. And I'm like I said, I'm getting more out of PlayStation. Like I will say that and like I'll say this point, and then I gotta go because I'm about to get my grub on. But I have bought more PS5 games, and I've pre-ordered more PS5 games than I ever have. And I'm not. And let me just not even just say PS5. It has nothing to do with PS5. PlayStation. I've bought more PlayStation games this year alone than I have Xbox games. I've only bought one Xbox game, and I've already regretted buying it. I'm not even gonna say what it is, but I spent $100 on it, and I wish that I would have never done that. But I've already regretted buying it because I'm already like going back to the PlayStation and playing that more. So I'm just gonna say I'm gonna still support Xbox, but I am gonna have to, and this is recorded, so this is gonna be public. Cheat code. I take back every negative thing that I've ever said in those spaces about PlayStation.
Look, I'm gonna say this. I want to say this. If you ever join my space or see it or whatever the case is, I'm not one to be like, "Oh, I told you so." Yeah, I told you so. PlayStation is the best place. You make up your own mind, right? If the well runs dry, like you're not gonna sit there at the fucking well waiting for some fucking water. You're gonna try to survive and go somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? If they're not making games, like it's one thing to have third party games, but how long is that gonna last? And you know, like you would expect, because it's like, okay, cool, but you expect them to have their own like collection of games that you can purchase, and they are a $2 trillion company. I know part of that budget is allocated to Xbox, but you're like, damn, they have the capital to make very and involving games and you know whatever the case is, and they don't. That's the question. Are they not putting? They taking features out of games like the Halo game. There's no co-op anymore. Like what? Like you know what I'm saying? Like you can't be a $2 trillion company and be
You're
like,
exactly right. Like the last, like man, I get a lot of time off through my job, and the last time that I took off for an Xbox game was for Halo Infinite, and I regretted it because it was like, what are we doing? Like, what is this? You know?
that's the logical conclusion. That's the logical conclusion. Like I'm not getting what I want. And the same thing, I'm gonna tell you this, right? I am one person, people can call me conservative or whatever the case is. I do not like any kind of forced politics or forced any fucking thing. Just make a good game. And when they start having games that you have to be this creed or whatever the case is, or you have to have this lead, that shit pisses me off. So Sony is on thin ice with that shit too. Despite the fact that I have like headphones from them, fucking Xperia phone from them. that pisses me off. Like you will lose a fucking customer if that shit don't align with what I want. And what I want is a good story and something that makes sense. Don't try to throw every identity and politics out there you can possibly. And they've been doing that lately, and it's very irritating. You know what I mean? So or better yet,
For Ragnarok.
or better yet, this. I'll say this. I'm a man, and I don't want to be made feel like I don't want to feel bad for being a man in these particular mediums. That pisses me off. I don't sound crazy, Jemiah, because there's too many people that think that have that alignment. This period. But that's all I want to say.
Like, I got you. No, but I mean, every art is a reflection of its time. You know, that's.
Yeah, you're gonna get that, and all of it's money based anyway. Like it's not. This is not like what's right. It's always money based. It's always money based. That's what pisses. That's what I don't like about it, because it's like I'm gonna make this character like this or this storyline like that specifically because it makes me look good in a light. That's not genuine, and that's what I don't like. But
no, but what if that was actually the writer's intent? Let's forget about the company. What if that was actually the writer's intent, and they made the story? And let's just say they made even a quality story.
If it's a look, Stage. If it's a quality story, I don't have a problem with it.
Okay.
The story was a quality. It was a quality made game, but the story had too many issues, and it had nothing to do. And it had nothing to do with. And it had nothing to do with identity politics either. It just they had a lot of issues.
Like, okay, so let me say this last part, and I really gotta go. So I broke my Xbox controller. Like I don't know what I was doing, but it fell out of my hands, and it just shattered and stuff. You know, I know, like, yeah, it was shattered and it broke. And I went to Best Buy today, and I was about to buy another one, but I literally was like, wait a second. I was like, what is keeping me? And I had my son with me, and I was like, he's like, why don't you just get this controller? And I was like, yeah, I can, but I was like, I don't want to. And he's like, what's wrong with you, Dad? And I was like, I have no idea. And so when I was at GameStop, I was like, now I know what the problem is. I don't want to buy another Xbox controller. I want to go buy me a PS5 controller that's just for me. And then I'm already looking into now seeing about trading in my Series X to go ahead and get
That's rough, man. That's rough to be a fan. To be a fan, and you got to that point. I didn't coerce you to make that decision. Nobody online coerced you to make that decision.
No.
That's the shitty part of it, yo. And that's what stings. And this is the path that any company takes if they fuck over their user base, the ones that are loyal. If they fuck that over, don't worry about it. You don't get nothing. That dollar that you chasing, that games as a service, if they go like hardcore on it and then drop everything the fuck else, you best believe, yo, people will leave Sony too. You'll get it's not gonna be sustainable enough to keep that little bit of fucking people that are loud online. It happens all the time where whatever you try to chase, whether it's politics or money, if it ain't the wave, ain't nobody gonna buy your shit.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for bringing me up. It's nice to meet a lot of you guys. I followed a lot of you. You don't have to follow me back, but I
appreciate that, yo. If I do see it, I'm gonna follow you back. I don't see anything here, so yeah, you did. I see it. Follow back. All right.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate you. I'll talk to y'all soon.
Take care. All right, so the next topic we're going to talk about, which is directly in correlation to, AAA games. I had a really good conversation with Lionel the other day about AAA games. And how long can we ride the cinematic experience and have the same tropes over and over again? How long can we do that?
It depends on the type of stories you want to tell.
Yeah, but you can tell multiple stories in the same way, though, and it can get tiring.
Well, do you get tired of looking at JRPG stories or like a GTA type story? I mean, everything has its genre.
It happened,
and
though.
The thing is that Sony has made landed upon something that has essentially helped the industry boost their storytelling capacity. tenfold. You know, so I mean, you know, like you're seeing in Guardians of the Galaxy, without Sony level games, we would not have gotten that. Star Wars, Jedi, what was it called? The game from EA, Jedi,
Fallen Order.
Fallen Order. There you go. And before that, it was literally a rip-off of Uncharted called Star Wars 1313 that EA had. I mean, Sony pushed the industry to its limit when it comes to story-driven game. They just have. And so the industry has basically responded in kind by competing and giving us high-quality games in many different licenses. You know, and I applaud that in any way it comes, you know.
Okay, but let's say everybody decides. See, the same thing happened, and I'll let you go ahead and talk about this stuff. But the same thing kind of happened.
Inferno's laughing at me. Oh my god, Jesus God! Let Inferno in here, man. I want to know what this guy's talking about.
You sound like a fanboy right now.
Oh my god, here we go. Is there any truth to what I just said?
Kind of.
Okay. Oh yeah.
Well, it was gonna be made by AAA, which basically she made Uncharted, so
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it a ripoff.
No, but I'm just saying, like, and not only that, it was the director of God of War 3 who made it. So they were all influenced by Naughty Dog to a certain degree in that generation anyway. You know?
Okay. What the same thing happened with what do you call it? RPGs. I'm sorry, I was reading some ridiculous shit. The same thing
Oh,
happened.
not really, not Sony. Sorry, Sony. But go on.
The thing that happened with JRPGs, right, is that was the wave when Final Fantasy VII happened.
Mm-hmm.
Then you had all manners of RPGs that came out of the fucking woodwork. Everybody was trying to adopt the same formula, but just put their own little spin on it, and it caused crazy fatigue in that genre. The only ones that were going to make it out of it are the ones that kind of started it in the first place, started that type of play. The same thing happened with Grand Theft Auto. When that exploded onto the scene, there were all manners of open world games that came out that put their own little spin on the same formula, and only the ones that were originated, the ones that kind of created it, came out. So I fear that the same thing is going to actually happen when it comes to AAA games. Everyone is going to try to have, or cinematic experience that we know, that we associate with AAA games. Everyone's going to come out the woodworks and be like, oh my God, I want to have these crazy, bombastic shit. And that was another thing too. Everybody had set pieces, and then that shit fell off. So again, what's the limit of AAA games? Before I'm just going to keep like peeling back the layers. What's the limit to this?
I mean, okay, you know that the thing is that, okay, there's limitations and there's also things that being AAA also helps with. It allows it to become a grand game, be like a massive. It allows it to have a massive size, a huge team.
What's up, Magnum?
To give you an in-depth experience that you haven't had elsewhere. The issue is that the risk causes a lot of publishers to clamp down, I think, creatively on the actual developer, I think at least, to make a game that they know a certain audience is going to like, period. And that's what hurts the creative process, which indies tend to, which tends to be cultivated more in indie games that tend to take more risk because they want to try something new. And that's, I think, one of the things that causes like a lot of like AAA games to seem like they're kind of like not creative in a way.
Well, anybody can jump in, by the way, but you avoided my question. What is the limit of AAA games? And then you went on to say something about indie games. Like, where do you see the limit of AAA games as it stands? Like, where do you see the end result of AAA games?
No, I just said creativity.
No, that you can't just have a conversation, just say creativity and close the book. Like,
no, I'm saying that one of the reasons, the big risk.
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. You're saying that basically the end. I'm not talking about the demise of it. I'm talking about the limits of AAA.
No, I'm not talking about the demise. I'm saying because of the fact that they want a certain type of return, and they know what type of games sell, they will, if they see one game succeed, they will definitely put money into another AAA game if they see that it's the chances in that genre are high of success.
I'm not being clear with my question, so I'll say
Okay.
this. What is the next evolutionary state of AAA games that you can see?
Where we're headed right now with GTA.
And
With
that is what?
Assassin's Creed, you can see it. Yeah.
And that is what?
Basically having live service implementation into the game.
Edward, what you got to say about this? Where do you see the next evolutionary state of AAA games? This dude is going to have 7 children, 3 dogs, 2 cats, and 1 bird.
Stop. Knock that shit off. Man, honestly, when I got construction in the background. Give me 1 second, okay?
I told you, Jabaya, what do you see? Where do you see the limitations of this AAA? You've answered this before. I mean, you've said where you want it to go, but where do you see it? VR implementation will be the next step. See, but it's limited. What happened? I guess it's just you and me stage until they get their act together, I guess. Umar, what's going on?
For you.
You got Jemiah making fucking statues over there and shit with a mask on. You got fucking Edward tending to his lineage of family.
And is Cheat Code here too?
Cheat Code is not in there, I don't think.
He's still on.
Yeah, he's down there. He's down there.
Oh, he decided to be a listener. Okay, cool. Okay, so I mean, in my case, I'll just kind of explain. Like, okay, so Umar from
What do you think?
Umar on YouTube says VR implementation is going to be the next step, and I can't jump aboard that because I have a luscious afro, and that will mess up my afro all the time, and I don't like that. More importantly, I don't want nothing over my head like that. It would have to be very like sleek and wireless for that to really. I told you, making statues.
So, going up and fucking talk. I would say this, right? I would say, not first party, but like the publishers like Sony and Xbox and even some sort of Nintendo, they have to make AAA games, right? Look at the state of the community right now. People are going crazy because there's no huge AAA games for them to play, talk about, etc. Right? God of War's the next one coming out. The industry needs these huge, like landfall games. Otherwise, it's not sustainable. AA indies are cool, but you need that Uncharted 5. You know what I mean? You need that Halo to be what it is. You need that 6 years of war. You have to have it. Otherwise, the industry itself was going to implode.
Jemiah, you got it. You bring up a really good point, but I want to know why though. Why do you need these things?
Well, that's at least for consoles. You don't really need if consoles are no longer a thing, you don't really need it per se.
Wait a minute.
These games, okay. These games are made as literally as value propositions for consoles. So the thing is that as people started to buy more of these exclusives, the budget started coming up for them over and over and over again because of the fact that it's really a necessity that you have quality games in first party for these companies. It drives their little internal system to actually have people become attracted to them in any way possible. This is why like Sony drops all these bangers from time to time, and Nintendo does as well, and so the thing is that like this is how you actually competed to get people to get drawn to your console. Even though you have the great third-party games and things like that, now it's at a point where Sony and Nintendo are so head and tails above a lot of people. It's noticeable, and except for like a few companies like Rockstar,
I think Square, I'll go for third Capcom. I mean, you got a couple.
Yeah, and Capcom now, after almost falling apart, eventually made a new mission statement that essentially said they were going to focus on making high-quality games And similarly to those companies, and look at them now.
Well, here's the thing. Let me
Like,
wait. Let me stop you.
also, Sony said that they're going to put more AAA figures a year. That's the cadence they want to do. They put out Horizon, they put out GT, they put out Last of Us Remake, and they're putting out God of War. Like, the rest of the industry needs to step up their game. A lot of games get delayed into next year, like Forspoken got delayed. I was looking forward to that. That Suicide Squad game got delayed to next year. I was looking forward to that. There's a bunch of games that are supposed to come out to supplement Sony's catalog, but Xbox is not doing anything. They're not putting out any huge bangers. Nintendo's putting out bangers for their audience every fucking month, it seems, to have a new game coming out. And I think like the industry itself, it's fine as far as AAA goes, and it's sustainable because there's an appetite for those games. And I don't think they're being lauded now only because there's no AAA games really to speak of, because the industry itself has had it's gonna have a hard time with the consoles, with the chip shortage, and also just getting them from COVID. It seems like a lot of developers couldn't handle that type of thing in the beginning of this generation.
I think people don't understand what AAA really means. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that has the meaning has been lost. I do believe, like Jemiah does, that AAA is definitely needed. But why, though, is the question. And I believe AAA games have a unique property in being on having mass appeal. It's flashy. A lot of people can get into it while it's still being like an expensive game. So even if, right, not everybody plays a AAA game, it does bring a lot of people to whatever space that it's in. It's a flagship type situation where people are like, this is a lot of quality, and it sets a precedent for that particular platform or area to be like, okay, so this is the type of standard and quality which Sony built up over 2 generations to that's why people go to PlayStation. There is a small set of people, and it's growing too, because remember the AAA games that Sony used to make back in PS3, they used to sell like 3 to 5 million, and that was considered great. Then PS4 happened, and then they started being above 10 million. Now we're 2 years into the cycle, right? And the games are already like first year 10 million. So over its lifetime, especially if you're going to tie in some sort of games as a service for the people that like multiplayer or some sort of co-op, it's going to sell a lot more. It's bringing more people into that particular walled garden, or is bringing more people into the gaming space, which is why what we're doing here in terms of gaming, that's why it's so popular. This is why a lot of people from the movie industry wants to put, or just entertainment, the visual entertainment industry wants to put that type of IP out there and have their own little renditions and stuff like that. That's the need for AAA games that I could see, at least in my opinion. But here's the thing. I don't think it's gone all the days that we get very innovative titles. I was just looking at, because I swear every time I have these podcasts, I carry my ass, before the podcast starts, I carry my ass to sleep and take a little nap and wake up, so I'll be disheveled and confused usually. But before I took my nap, I was watching Shadow of the Colossus, and that was a Sony exclusive, and that was some crazy like cinematic AAA experience for its time. It was very innovative, and I miss those days where games were just that innovative. I mean, I miss it. Yeah.
It's crazy though too, right? Because even the main character, says nothing, almost nothing in that game, right? Other than like the conversation of a cutscene. Like it's crazy how powerful games can be without even having dialogue from like the main character.
The same thing happened with Stray. Like, you would think it's like the cat don't speak English at all. It'll meow, but like because of the interactive properties of a game, it's another layer. It's almost like DualSense, where you add an extra layer of vibrations and control. But no, it's almost like when I play Shadow of the Colossus, right, and watch people play Shadow of the Colossus, and every time there's always somebody new that plays the game. and they're floored by its presentation because every statement that is spoken is so impactful. You know what I mean? Like when the spiritual entity from that shrine told that main character, which we don't even have a fucking name for him, really. We don't know what he is, what he's called. But when he tells them, that entity was like, this is going to have a really heavy, it's going to be a heavy load for you. It's going to be a lot of stress for you. And the main character says, I don't care. In the way that he says, I don't care. It's something powerful that I don't think a movie could really do, or any other interactive or any other medium. But the whole thing is this. I'm talking about gameplay wise. In terms of what I believe that it could possibly go. When I was speaking to Lionel about this, he suggested that it needed to be like a he said crashed on him. All right, he's probably need to get back in there. When I mentioned this to Lionel, he states, right, that what he wanted out of, let me invite him again. What he wanted. Let me get my thoughts together. I apologize, guys. Oh yeah, Lionel. So he says that he wanted like more branching storylines. That's what he kind of wanted. A reason to jump back into the gameplay again. And I said that if you had multiple storylines, that's probably going to be really complicated for them. I mean, it's not our, we shouldn't care. Just get it done. But I was thinking like maybe because Detroit Become Human, right? That game has multiple story arcs, right? Or in decision making, it can go all sorts of ways, including left, right? But after you get to the grand finale, I don't really want to play the game again. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to play the game to play the different avenues to get to the same place at the end. So I suggested, right, that maybe you should have multiple characters with their own story arc. Like when the game starts off, you get to pick, Lisa, Bart, and Maggie, right? And you play Lisa. She has her own story arc that may or may not intertwine with the other two. And then she's done. And then you can play the game again right after. Play Bart's and et cetera, et cetera. You know what I'm saying? So and maybe they're positioned in different areas within the environment. The other thing that I could see that I want deep down inside is like I love to see AI interact with each other. Like you create a very complicated AI system and let it rip. But you need to have a very complicated like game mechanics, you know what I mean? So look at Grand Theft Auto and stuff like that. You have archetypes within the world. There's the thief, there's the shopper, there's the rich people, and they all have their own behavioral patterns. And when you let them rip, anything could randomly happen. Because it may or may not steal something, or it may or may not shop and stuff like that. And just seeing this. Huh?
I'm saying I agree with you. And funny enough, this is actually what I was thinking about like a couple days ago, right? Like the heavy use and conversation about machine learning, right? If you take that and you implement that into characters where, like you said, branching out to the story. Like I'll use this as an example. This is what I honestly see, and I don't know if it's gonna actually happen or not, but it just makes sense to me, right? Like the big thing right now that everybody wants is like fashion. But before I even go there, like the choice, right? Everybody was pissed off at the end of Last of Us 2 over the choice that Ellie made to save Abby, right? But if you implement machine learning, right, and it gives you the choice whether to let her go or to kill her, just like everybody was happy at the end of Ghost of Tsushima, like how that ended. You also had a choice there. So if you give the player choice at the outcome of the game, right, I think that will definitely elevate AAA games. But I would also say machine learning and giving you options or branching out. So when I say factions, right, let's think like if this game, this multiplayer games as a service, intertwines the story that we are already accustomed to. So the characters that you play in The Last of Us factions, if you encounter Ellie, or if you're a part of Ellie's faction, or if you encounter Abby, wherever she's at, and you still have the characters, let's say even if you don't see them and you see Lev or whatever it may be, you can use those characters within a free-to-service or a free-to-play game where you are implementing these characters that we are already associated with. So if they do branch out to, like, say, The Last of Us 3, and you happen to see the characters that you intertwine with into the free-to-play game, you can continue on with that story. And that particular title or franchise can be ongoing. And I think that's one of the things that PlayStation themselves, even if you look at all of their IPs, let's say, like, whatever the outcome of Ragnarok is, right? If Atreus was to be like the next main character in the next franchises of God of War, we are all accustomed to that. So we would want to see what that would play out for whatever mythology they go to. The same thing with Aloy and how they showed her as a part, have her as a clone, and then we're getting Call of the Mountain, which is a different character. You know what I'm saying? There's like branching characters within these stories that we are already accustomed to that have their, I'm sure, will have their own story line at some point. You put machine learning behind that, where they can create their own their storyline, and that can continue to keep going.
It sounds like
implement in these cycles.
it sounds like what you're describing is a universe, like their own particular universes, and they have their own mechanics and stuff like that intertwines with the storyline. And
Exactly.
so that's what I'm thinking as well, because there's certain things that PC or consoles cannot do without a heavy penalty. If people want 60 frames or 120 frames per second, you're definitely not getting it if you can destroy everything within the environment or have that many moving physics pieces in there, and then you try to throw in ray tracing and stuff like that. So you have to go and use your power wisely when it comes to these particular things. AI hasn't been really pushed to the limit either, in gaming, and I think that's where it kind of needs to be. When I first played Grand Theft Auto 3 back in 2001, they had like a rudimentary system, sort of like what I was describing. The pimp that came out at night, the construction worker that came out in the morning, the shoppers. If you wanted sports cars, you would go to the rich area of the city. If you wanted like to see the mountains and stuff like that and get the rich people which had the most money, you go to the rich area that was like all hilly and valley and stuff like that. And each area had their own thing. If you wanted to have,
If you wanted to get shot, you go past the gang territory.
well, you caused that to happen. I think that honestly, Rockstar was so fucking ahead of their time, and that's why the game felt alive, because it was like your consequence permanently affected the world. When you did the missions for Salvatore, and he tried to kill you, and you managed to live. What is that? That's a 21-year-old spoiler, so I don't know if you didn't play it. But if they found that you were alive, you could never go onto the St. Mark Street. They will blow you up on spot. Period. Because your mission was to kill Salvatore, and you killed them, and then you had all the Leones that went after you. So each AI archetype within the environment had their own personality to a certain degree, and they would do things. You had the pocket pickers. You had all sorts of crazy shit that they all lived. That the reason why I felt like it was like chaotic, and it was always different every time you booted up the game, is because they threw all these AIs at each other and let it rip. Whatever happens. They were, you had the scared people, you had the cab drivers, you had people jumping in there, and they may pick up a robber, and that robber may steal the cab, and that will trigger the police to chase those people. It was a whole bunch of crazy shit that was random because they already had the systems in place in terms of the AI. What I did like too is that certain missions were closed off to use during certain times of the day, and it kind of forced you to do something else until the morning, like 8:00 a.m. happened. Like when you wanted to, I remember this shit fresh because I've beaten Grand Theft Auto 3 so many times. But Joey from Portland, the Portland Island, you can only visit him and do his missions between 6:00 a.m. to I think 6 p.m. Once you pass that point, that store was closed. You got to find some other missions, which led you to the strip club area. Their missions were overnight. You can do those missions and stuff like that. It just made the world feel more alive, and we don't get that. You play like the original Horizon, all the AI feels like window dressing. They're just standing there. They may say something, and that was it. They don't go to sleep really. I know in The Witcher they go to sleep after a certain after a certain time, which is really cool. But that's where I kind of see where things are kind of going in general. I think that'd be fucking sweet if they can continue to do things like that. I feel like it's not unreasonable to ask for that. You know what I'm saying? Like I said before, in Magnum too, before I let Stage go. Um, yeah, the VR was built. The PS5 was built with the VR in mind, and that's cool. But I still don't. There's too many limitations. The wire limitations, the headset limitations. You know what I mean? It's a lot of limitations for that to be mainstream, and it's expensive. I'm sure that shit's gonna be like $500. But Stage, what you got to say about this? After everything that my idea for next generation and how far AAA can go, what do you have to say?
I mean,
Like, what is your idea? What is your ideal? I should say. Like, what do you? You're a gamer. What do you think that it should be?
the problem with I think is a little too grounded with how far these actual consoles can go. I think you already brought that up though. With consoles, because of the fact that we're gonna have to end up having mid-gen refreshes, the actual console makers are gonna have to think about how far they can take their games in general. And the only leaps that we're going to be getting are generational in general. So, if things were to be like kind of like PC, where you have kind of like an open-ended existence and people play based on their capabilities, it would be a little bit easier to make these high-quality games with AI that is insane. But because I'm sure Naughty Dog could do that if these consoles weren't holding them back. But I think we're going to be held back for quite a few more gens, dude, to be quite honest. Until there's like a mid-gen refresh where they have like 3 different options, not just 2 different options, but like a tier of 3, kind of like the Steam Deck.
The mid-gen refreshes are still limited by the weakest link, so that's not going to do anything to fix the issue. It will have to be a whole new generation. And let me just tell you, from the times that I've actually programmed, AI does not eat up a lot of memory at all. You create a system and you have sliders, so to speak, on terms of what is, like, you have these properties for the AI system, and you inject that into the body of the AI. You know what I'm saying? So you define if it's a female or a male, right? And then within those particular sections, you have different properties on how much aggression it does, and any specific animations for those particular behavior patterns. It doesn't take a lot of memory. It does take a lot of processing power because it needs to be able to run all these systems at once. But the actual memory it's not eaten up by that. You could have done a lot of this shit during the PS3 era because it just doesn't eat up a lot of memory. You won't have the best looking game, but you definitely have a next generation experience. But you haven't answered my question though. What is your viewpoint on what do you call it? Like what do you see next generation being?
In the next generation of
No, I'm sorry, this generation. I'm sorry, I'm stuck.
This generation?
Mm-hmm. I don't know. No, my bad. Your ideal.
Okay. Yeah, because I see. Hold on. Okay, like okay, for games, my ideal generation, it would be there would be a lot more I guess like the other guy said before, it was like it was Edward said that that there would be branching options in a lot more games, like more intelligent scripting in a lot of titles to have you more immersed into certain games. I mean, some games are more artistically made to exist without the actual player choice. But I think people should learn from people like BioWare and learn to have a more RPG like style further implemented into the games, because it seems like it seems to be affecting games. I mean, look at Assassin's Creed. Even Assassin's Creed is becoming more RPG like as the days go by, and it's becoming more and more popular than it's ever been. Is the writing great?
Hold on for a minute. Hold on. I'm gonna pause you really quickly, and
Yeah.
I feel like I'm not asking the right questions when I do ask you the questions. But before we go on there, right? Magnum says here, I think that AAA development will keep the same budgets but double down on better engines to make development easier and more and have more fidelity. Just to tap onto that one, these consoles are not being utilized at all.
Not yet.
They're not. It's not. Let me read Arsenic's thing. He says it's not a console problem, what you're describing. It is a developer problem. He says he's so tired of console players blaming it on the console. Then he goes on and says that Call of Duty has RPG elements, and he says that's boring. Adding RPG elements is lazy. It isn't a one-stop shop to fix everything. So,
Well, I mean,
no,
it would
but
have to be a learning situation then.
but here's the thing, though. That's what I mean. That's what I mean. Like we're bumping into a wall where you can only have games that look so good and perform a certain amount of way. You know what I mean? We got to do something better than just the same architecture, the same simple shit. So so the question that I'm asking you is, tell me, you're an artist. Paint me a picture of your idea. I don't want to hear the business side of things. Paint me a picture of what will be the ideal game for you.
For me, I mean, I'm mainly a third-person shooter, like RPG type guy.
So like Destiny.
No.
Then what?
No, third-person shooter. I play like a Mass Effect and stuff like that, like The Witcher. Like I'll play a JRPG here and there.
Well, the Witcher's not the Witcher's not a shooter.
Game,
Somebody that draws and is heavily into art. You're not painting a picture. I don't know what that means. Like if I had my own way, I painted my picture very, very thoroughly. System AI that can work with each other, and they have their own lives essentially. And you interact with it. Well, what will be yours that won't, like, again, AAA gaming, if it continues on with this cinematic experience where you just have a storyline and the same RPG elements and the same set pieces, I mean, that's going to get old
but that's a linear experience.
You have set pieces, you have set pieces in Grand Theft Auto. It's not just a linear experience. We've been doing that for since PS3, really.
Yeah, but Grand Theft Auto is working to have closer to a living, breathing world. Kind of like with Red Dead. It's the closest we've ever gotten.
I get it, but what is your ideal? This is what I asked you. I said, what's your ideal game? Third-person shooter.
My ideal.
And I'm like, what? How can I can't extrapolate. Like, we already have that. What would be, with the technology that you understand now with these consoles, what would push AAA gaming forward is my question.
Intelligent AI response to movements that we make and things like that. Better learning of basically the patterns that we have. I think they're already doing this. I think they did in Killer Instinct already. But I think it would be AI that learned our patterns, and we'd have to actually think our way around them more efficiently instead of just doing loops. And we just pretty much have to learn that constant loop, because they're going to have a set of move sets already done, and that's what I think that's going to be the thing that's constraining a lot of AI to begin with. That they already have a set move set, so you would have to have like a seriously deeply created AI and character to actually like have a truly unique experience. Each person, for like if they all played the same game but had a unique experience, be completely based on an AI responding completely to you. And I mean, having conversational systems that are truly tailored to you. Of course, this, it's I think it's something that's more personalized to the actual player. That's what I think.
See, if you have a third person, if you have a third,
A great future.
if you have a third person shooter, right?
Yeah.
And if your enemies are humans, you can run, walk, crawl, prone, jump, climb. That's the same. It's not. You don't need anything crazy different.
Mm.
And when you create AI, Arsenic says this: AI isn't going to program the game or create the rule sets. So you still have to have
No, I understand that.
No,
I was never arguing against that.
I know, but you're saying that the AI is supposed to be really good, and I'm still trying to envision what
No, I'm
type of.
saying my ideal.
I'm trying to envision. I'm trying to envision the type of game that you're saying, and it's not. You're not giving me a type of game.
Yeah, we're speaking ideally here.
No, I know, but you're not giving me the type of game it is or genre. I'm trying to imagine what it is.
Like for instance, like a Dark Souls game. You know, instead of
No,
just
not for
having
no, no, no. Hold on. Let me just stop you right here. Not for instance, your ideal game, what you've always dreamt of and lacked.
Yeah, that's a tough one because I'm guessing because you're looking to go a little bit too because like the thing is that like actual game because I'm not a game designer and so the thing is that like
Yeah, but I articulated what the type of world that I wanted. I feel like I did it fairly well, and so did Edward.
mm,
Can I say what game I want?
Yeah. Let me let him kind of see what he's thinking about.
Okay, I would like both first person and third person, right? But at choice. But as far as the game goes, genre, I want a survival horror, right? Within this game, I want it to be either where you can co-op or also be against one another, right? So let's say I want building within this game where you can create your own structures. Those structures as well can be environmentally destroyed, excuse me, by different weapons and different weapons and explosives. I also want a 24-hour night or day and night cycle, kind of like what you said, Illicit, as far as like days go or when the days are available. Let's say like if you created a shop, you create your own shop for people to come in, buy and sell your own stuff. Stuff that you create, if you have like a team to go out and build certain things for you that you can like, monetize those things, and then the portion of the person who is creating it gets a piece of it, or if it's your compound, you reap that as well. Crafting as well with any type of, and again, I would see that AI would help with this, right? But let's say I look at Dead Rising 2, I think it was, right, where you can pick up like chainsaws and like a broomstick, and then you can create a fucking bow or staff with like chainsaws at the end of it, or use like a vehicle, for example, and add certain things to that as well to fight and combat, whether it be real people or AI. And that's another thing that I want in my survival horror game, that it's PvE as well as PvP or co-op as well. What else would I like with that? What else was I going with that? Oh, one of the things that I would like to see in gaming, in a sense, and even in my game, right? Let's say if I made a single player game, and it was antagonist versus protagonist, I would like not only to be the protagonist. So, for example, let's say like you're on your first mission and you come across what your antagonist was doing, and we're getting close to that. Then I would think that you should be able to switch on the fly to like the antagonist to try to stop what the protagonist is coming at you with. So, like for example, they kind of did this with like, we didn't know about it until they switched to Abby, right? Where you actually were playing as like the villain, right? If you did that in a game where it gave you the option to play both, I kind of think of like the airplane scene in like Call of Duty, like back in the day, right? Nobody knew like, oh, I'm in an elevator with like these group of people until you open that door and then like mow down everybody, right? And then after that, you're like, holy shit. And then you went back to being like a part of like the people who were stopping the terrorists. I think if you gave that option as well, that'd be awesome. But I want something where you can build your structures not so much as in a Fortnite, but like think of like Valheim, but in a survival horror environment where you can choose to have people roll with you or go against them if they want to do their own thing.
Okay. Now, Black, are you with me?
Yeah, that didn't help me at all.
No, I know what he's looking for.
Yeah,
Black.
I understand. But like the thing about it is like I guess my concept or understanding is a little bit more focused on what I'm getting rather than going out too far. You know.
I mean, no, but that's my question. Isn't the take into consideration too far? Because I think these consoles and computers can go very, very far. Let me see
I
here.
don't know how far that will be. I think consoles are very restricted.
No, it's not consoles, man. It's manpower. They made Tomb Raider for the PlayStation 1 work on a Game Boy Advance. It doesn't even have a 3D chip in there. The ingenuity of people, what they could do, you shouldn't downplay that. Magnum says, what about a PlayStation 5 multiplayer where there are different worlds and you can warp to the worlds on the fly with 128 players or more? I mean, you kind of get that with
But with
no. He kind of get that with what do you call it? No Man's Sky. Puka, what's going on, bro?
Hey man, how y'all doing tonight?
I'm doing well. I want to wrap this up soon. What we were talking about is, and just to very simply put, what can elevate the AAA experience?
Yeah, man. So on the thing my guy was saying, AI. I think AI is like super important, man. Like think about, I don't know if you've heard my complaint about the stealth mechanic. And the stealth mechanic in games is probably the dumbest shit ever in any game, right? Like, I'm this assassin or I'm this dude and I've killed like 8 motherfuckers, right? And you realize you're a security guard and you're like, oh shit, I've just now watched 8 of my dudes get popped in the head or some shit like that. Let me look around for a second for this guy for like 30 seconds. And like, oh, he's not here, fuck it. Let me go back to my regularly scheduled, circle around this place. That shit just don't make no fucking sense, right? I think I haven't never played a game where the stealth mechanic really made sense outside it. Maybe Metal Gear Solid.
That was probably that still to this day has the best. It's a shame. Like when I played The Last of Us Part 2 and they had stealth, it still doesn't reach Metal Gear 2.
Yeah, so that's to me, and that goes back to AI. I think that goes back. I'm no developer, obviously, so I think that goes back to AI.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that, and for me, man, immersion is another big thing. Now, I'll tell you what, it's a lot of little things, man, because nothing's going to happen overnight, right? But if have you played the Call of Duty beta yet?
No, I've been seeing the make his rounds on the internet.
And I know this is wildly unpopular among competitive shooters, man, but the haptics on the PlayStation 5, the haptics and the adaptive trigger when you're playing that game is another step in that immersion, because then when I go back and I play Battlefield after the fact, and Battlefield doesn't have that, the control, it felt dead as fuck.
It felt ball-headed.
And so I'm like, damn, yo, like, even though, like, it's fucking up my KD and shit because it's harder to pull the trigger and all this other shit, but man, that feels great, you know what I'm saying? And so, for me, man, it's the immersion. So, when I'm playing a Halo-type game, or when I'm playing Starfield, right, if I use my laser blaster and I miss, man, there's got to be, environments have to be affected by me. And so I think those are the things that'll push these games forward, is better AI and then better immersion in that environment. Yeah. So,
well, Arsenic says this, right? Well, and I get what he's saying. You still have to empower the player to feel a certain type of way. That's why when you play Call of Duty, it locks on, and you're not really doing a lot of the aiming. They want to make you feel powerful, but Metal Gear Solid still had a situation where you had to hide the fucking bodies. I remember back in the day, right? If you stood outside too long while it was raining, you would catch a cold, and you would randomly and periodically sneeze, and that will fuck your whole shit up. Or footprints, they would notice footprints. Like, why is it? What's this? What's these footprints there? You know what I'm saying? You know, it was a very tightly designed game around stealth, and it's like, don't throw in fucking stealth if I can stab somebody and they can, you know what I'm saying, and no one hears that shit. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I mean, but like I said before, Stage Block is he's under the impression that these consoles, watch 2023, man, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. A lot of this shit is antiquated, and the way that you can shift memory between both of these consoles, the series and the PS5, is the bread and butter of how things worked. I was looking at Nvidia's chips, and I was expecting them to have like 32 gigs of VRAM and shit like that for their graphics card, and it's just like 16 or whatever the case is. The reason why is the speed. You're able to shift data back and forth. So you just have like a core little piece of data that keeps everything in play, or keeps everything in place. And then you can swap out the memory in terms of where it is. I played 7 Days to Die. I mean, I used to be so enamored with that game. Because, and it's stupid too, because you have to literally work in that game to get your shit, but that's what it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're doing a job essentially within a digital world. So I had to get sand, I had to get water, I had to mix that shit and make concrete, and get the rhubarb and all this other shit that you put together, and you make the fucking concrete and everything like that. And even within, this is a fucking like what do you call it? Free to play, not free to game, early access game. It had a structure, so like I couldn't literally place a heavy structure on like a wooden like structure. It cave in eventually. And the same thing with trees and plants. I can make my own like berries. That would be really cool if we had like The Last of Us multiplayer, where you had to go out and scavenge an open world and run across like the clickers and shit like that, and you grow with your group. You know what I'm saying? You go with your group, you have to take people down, and everyone, like, just say it's like a 4-way between 8 versus 8 versus 8. You know what I'm saying? And you're put in the open world, and you got to go out there and get these parts to take back to your group. You know what I'm saying? And you may encounter other people that's trying to get the same resources and shit like that. And there's a day and night cycle, so you already know. Like, that shit would have been fucking fire.
That is going to happen. I'm telling you. Going into this.
Listen, calm your boner down. You little Last of Us craziness. I already know you love that fucking series. So we've been hearing zombies all day. But that's what we're planning on getting. The point that I'm trying to make, Stage, is that we're at a point, right, where it can't just be cinematic experiences and that's it. You know what I mean? But
I'm not saying that. I was just.
I know that you're not saying it. I'm just saying we got to do something different. That's what I'm saying. I know you're not saying it.
Yeah, but that's just one niche compared to others. It's just that games today, the cinematic experiences are allowing these games to become experiences. Eventually, as these games like GTA, as we were talking about, and these Rockstar games become more evolved, eventually they're going to make AI that are a lot more intelligent, I'm sure, with better scripting.
Yeah, but again, where do you see gaming going?
I don't, dude. At this point, like, really, I haven't really thought of a game where I want games to go. I just play games I like.
Hey, real quick, if I can answer that, you guys asked the question, like, what kind of game do you want? I really want to answer that. So, like, my man, world building to me is like the funnest shit ever, man. I don't know why that shit's so goddamn fun to me, man. So, like,
you mean like what do you mean like what do you call it again? Like Minecraft?
Like like a Minecraft, but you like a Valheim, more closer to Valheim, and what's the other game? Grounded, shit like that, where I'm like foraging for materials. So think State of Decay, right? A AAA game where I have to forage for fucking materials, right? To build shit like that. Like, I build a house, build a structure, build some shit, but I build something to like
fortify. Like I think it's State of Decay. I only played it for like a couple minutes because it wasn't exactly what I wanted. But I want a post-apocalyptic world where it's a AAA game, so it's good graphics and all the other shit, yada yada yada. But I can build and fortify. Like let's say I go up into like a prison or some shit. Like okay, let me fortify this prison. So now this is where my camp is, and I gotta like fight off people who are trying to like. Post-apocalyptic world, whatever the fuck happens in those things. Like, just a survival game like that, dude, that's what the fuck I want, man. That to me would be the funnest shit ever, yo. That's really it. Yeah.
Look, I don't know what it is about those games either, but I would love a AAA version of 7 Days to Die, man. Me and a couple of buddies, man, like, we had to get, like, cotton and leaves to build our fucking clothes. It would get cold in certain places. You can't just eat just anything or else you will get sick. You know what I'm saying? And you had to get prepared. Every 7 days you will get like an onslaught of zombies that will fuck your structures up because everything is destructible in the game. You know what I'm saying? So after that night is over and we were just some of the experiences I had, like we created like a bunker. We got all our shit together. We had to make our own bullets and shit. We ran out of bullets and they were fucking the house up on the outside and they were coming in and they were going down the ladder and we had to, by the time everything was done and the sun came out and the zombies stopped coming, that house was fucked up completely. Everything was a
AAA version of that sounds like the funnest shit ever.
Yeah, like high key. Like high key. Like high key. And we did, right? As I told one of my friends, right? I was like, hey, you go and get like as much sand as you can possibly get. Let me go ahead and get the water. I'm close here. You stay watch for other zombies that's going to come out there because they randomly would go there. We had they trampled all over our fucking crops. So our crops was fucked up because you had to eat too in that game or else you die. Like it was just like so fucking crazy. And you can have an open world where you just leave it open for other people to invade your shit. And people will just go in there and invade and fuck up your shit or whatever the case is. Or they'll lie and they'll backstab you and shit like that, right? They'll be like, oh, this is, I'm new to this game, whatever the case is. And you get friends with them. Like, we had betrayers like that too. And we're like, oh, we did this. And we walk away, right? And this motherfucker is gathering our resources and making fucking bombs and shit. We go in there, boom, blow up our shit. It was so fucking great, yo. And if that game that is an early access game had all of those intricate systems in there, you better believe $200-300 million, you could do a hell of a lot more than what we see. There's a reason why these games exist, and there's a reason why these games are very popular. The co-op is probably the wave. You know what I'm saying? They're probably going to all start making co-op games and have a single player experience in mind. Like it's just off rip supposed to be like a co-op. Think of The Last of Us Part 2, right? You play Ellie and Dina, and by default, if you don't have nobody to play with, it's an AI. But if you do, it'll be you and Dina, or Ellie and Dina, and she gets to do whatever she does, and you can throw that fucking cord over there, she'll grab it, or whatever the case. You can problem solve, right? That's what I would say. So,
hey, did any of you guys ever play the Division's DLC, which was Survival?
No, I never played the Division.
Okay, so within this game, like the Division, right? There's a virus and what have you. So what was really cool about this is that you had to actually stay focused on, like, you had elements to worry about. So like there was a storm, like a winter storm, which you could freeze to death if you did not find these barrels to throw like flares in to keep you warm. As well as like trying to craft a filter to stop the virus from spreading. So you had like different avenues of doing that. Like you could take like medication, you could take like a syringe of medication, which would either give you a more longer lasting resistance to it, not completely remove the virus, but again, you're trying to make it to like the dark zone and the extraction point And while you're going through your way through the city while this is happening, again, you have to factor in the cold. So you have to keep yourself warm. You would craft like scarves, jackets, like articles of clothing to keep you warm. But again, that would just only slow the progression down until you craft like a virus filter to actually remove the virus from you, and you would have to extract yourself. But like you're saying, like 7 days, I actually want to kind of play that game now. You talk about it. 7 Days to Die with that, and even with what Puka was saying, like you put a game like that, and I honestly, I mean, I can kind of see it in a lens because you see like the day before is kind of trying to do that with the multiplayer environment of like free, not free to play. I'm sorry,
Early access.
PvP, right, where you can have your friends and stuff with you. Yeah, man, I'm telling you, like there's gonna be a title, whether it be factions or not. That's all I'm asking for.
It's gonna be the co-op.
A few friends where you have to just deal with the environment as well as other AI or other players.
It's gonna be co-op. It's gonna be co-op. Let me let Yo in, and then we're gonna just close. We're gonna wrap it up and close. Yo.
Hey, what's going on? Been a while since I put in this space. So I want to talk about games like Street Fighter 2 and Mortal Kombat 2, and a lot of the early fighting games. Their AI could tell what you were going to do, and they would beat you ruthlessly at every turn to the point where, especially in arcades, like a lot of people would hate it because they always felt like they were being cheated because they were being cheated. It's something that slowly was like kind of like phased away from fighting games, but essentially even back then the AI could break you. So what I'm saying is they have to make AI stupid enough for the average player. Because if they truly made like AI the capability to make significantly more complex decisions, you would never win.
When I mention AI, I'm mentioning like more systems where they can interact with each other and.
That's still what I'm agreeing. Like they would just say, "Hey, you know what? Let's just lock them out of here and get out of here." Or I'm saying so. They're always going to have to compromise on the AI because they need the average player to actually be able to beat the game. Because if the average player can't beat the game, then they're just not going to have fun and they're not going to buy the next game. So. And I think that's something that we can all agree that games have, for the most part, with a few outliers like Souls games, have gotten easier and easier. And it's because they want more and more people. They don't want you just to play the game; they want you to beat the game.
Well, Souls games have gotten easier if you use the mechanics, especially Elden Ring. Like if you use the fucking mimics, you're set. You know the funny thing is Horizon for Zero Dawn. If you interact with all the AI systems and stuff like that, man, it will literally, like, they will fuck you up. They literally have to pace the time of attacks between the machines. Like, they have to, like, as you adequately put, dumb the machines down so you can have fun. Because there's no way that it's the AI's world, so they can clearly see everything that's happening at once. So, you know what I mean? Of course, they can probably try to make it so that they have a clone vision, and that's what's going on there. And it either knows where you're at, or it has to lie and pretend that it doesn't. Like for Last of Us Part 1 and 2, let's just say you're in a square room, right? And you're hiding behind a box. What the AI will do is that it will run an animation and make it look like it was searching for something, but they keep backing up into the location that you're at in a radius. So they'll just keep backing up into that middle of the room until they find you or wherever you're at. They're like close you in, but it's artificial. They're not really looking or whatever the case is. They will always do this. And that's why I don't ever give props to that particular game. And I'll always give props to Metal Gear Solid because they have a better AI system in Metal Gear Solid than any real stealth game, to be honest with you.
I don't know. Like I felt like I learned how to break those games early too.
Oh, Metal Gear Solid, yeah. A lot of times I just like to see what the AI will do. But that would be cool. I'll leave you guys with this, right? Imagine you're playing Assassin's Creed, right? Almost like old school. and you get to kind of target just one person. You see this motherfucker wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, tend to his garden, right? Walk his kid to, whatever school that they got going on. He goes to work, right? He works there for a certain amount of time, and then he ends up going home and relaxing, and then cooks dinner and goes to sleep. Could you imagine, and I know it sounds fucked up because of the kid situation, but could you imagine if you knew the fucking schedule, you just wait at that time frame and be in that motherfucker's bedroom, and if your mission was to kill that person, you already in this house because you know it. You know that's his schedule. Like, I'm looking for the next level shit like that, where the AI has their own life, quote unquote, and you can exploit that type of shit.
So you want to be like Hitman?
Not necessarily hit.
I was actually going to say the 8 Ball mission on Grand Theft Auto.
Which one?
Right?
There's three. It's three. Yeah, it's three.
And I would say that the problem is I want you to play that way because you yourself break the game. Because you will, let me just make this as easy as possible for me. Because like that 8 Ball mission, like I couldn't beat it any other way back then. So I was like, you know what? Ford in this car, wait for him to walk outside and then I'm just going to blow it up. And I thought it was fantastic that the game let me do that. But now that I can do that, now I was breaking the game.
Well, the developers would have to think to, like, they would have to take that into consideration. That goes still strict to the developer and thinking about the possibilities that the player could actually do and working within the parameters of that. And Grand Theft Auto 3, they allowed you to do a lot of things
that they don't let you do now.
That they don't let you do now, but yeah.
Yeah, let me kind of speak on that for 1 second. I know you're trying to wrap this thing up, but and that made me think difficulty levels and sliders in games, right? That to me is something I feel like they can fix quickly. Like if you, I don't know if any of y'all play sports games, but they're most notorious for that shit.
Yeah, I was
like
at that point too about skill-based matchmaking.
Yeah,
How it's implemented. But at the same time, skill-based matchmaking also, like if you're really, really good at punishes, you can be really, really good because the system says, okay, this guy's a OP player, we're just gonna put them against other OP players, and I think that's ultimately gonna be what they're gonna have to do to give you the type of AI that you guys are talking about, where the game recognizes that you're a really good player and is constantly like unlocking those sliders, but at the same time, then you always feel like you're always like playing with your back against the wall. So even single player games become a sweaty game. And sometimes you just want to pump stomp, and I would say that's the same thing on single player games. I don't want every game to automatically become sweaty because the game realizes, oh, this guy's a really good player. Let's give him max challenge. Anyway, sorry for interrupting. Go ahead.
Yeah, so for like in sports games, they're really notorious for like making my guy stupid as fuck to make the game harder, or in a single player game to make the game harder. They make my guy weaker, or they make the enemy stronger, or some shit like that. Just make the enemy smarter, right? Because to me, like, why make me worse to make you better? No, just make that motherfucker smarter. Make the person make better decisions, which would make the game harder. And I think that could be a way that they go to fix this, make game more difficult. And yeah, I would hope they could develop games on a top-down way where it's really hard to beat because the game is so smart, and that's on like the hardest level, right? And then but the casual person put the shit on normal, and you can outsmart the computer. Because at the end of the day, if you're playing a 1v1, people outsmart you all the time. Like, I'm playing Call of Duty, I'm getting flanked by other people. You know what I'm saying? Like, damn, I should have known the motherfucker was going around the corner because he saw me type shit. So, yeah, I think
that's what makes it really hard, because when you have an AI, right, and let's say you use the cone view of the AI has to still memorize the environment to a certain degree, and then also have knowledge on where players could possibly be, and know not to walk in front of the doorway and stuff like that. That is extremely hard to do. So what they opt to do is to know where you are at all times and slow down their response time. Is what they ended up doing. So like it would be like, again, if you're good, and I used to want to be an AI developer. Uh, and I started seeing how things work, and it just made me not enjoy gaming the way I wanted it to. So, but you can trick it, the system. I mean, you can trick the player into thinking that they're smart, and you can give the AI self-preservation. So, like, if it gets a certain level of health, they just be like, "Fuck this." Nope. They do that in Killzone too, by the way. If they get hurt too much, they'll just be out. And then they start to use the coward AI, where they were like, "Okay, I'm already too weak. Let me create some distance and stay at that level." I remember playing Metal Gear Solid 3. Um, you could shoot their guns out of their hands and stuff like that, or shoot their hands and they can't even aim properly anymore. Like they have systems in play that they don't do anymore, or they don't think of doing, because they're so they're so worried about flashiness and stuff like that. And I love every time I'm talking, I swear like I'm adding extra levels of this conversation. But last words here. Anybody have anything else to say about this?
The sooner we can say fuck the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One, the sooner we can get these games that we're asking for. Because as everybody knows, man, those old systems are the reason why we're not getting the shit that we want.
That's why CD Projekt Red was like, fuck this console.
Nah, they played with us. They lied straight up.
No, I'm talking about.
But here's the thing, though, man. When they lied about that,
yeah.
Yo, what's going on, Blake?
They turn around and they say PSVR 2. Oh, hey, that shit don't work with the old shit. And now everybody like, oh shit, how dare you? Like, yo, come on, yo. Like, either they believe in generations. That's why the PS. So I'm super hyped on PSVR. I think that's gonna be dope as fuck, yo. That's a day one. That's a day 0.1 for me. Like, I'm on that shit hard. And the fact that it's not backwards compatible to me is dope as fuck. Like, that, to me, that looks like generations to me. You see what I'm saying? I can't put CDs on my Walkman.
This is the culture that we're dealing with nowadays, right? People literally complaining about any fucking thing. And you know why they complain? A, it's because they get attention. B, they deliberately go after stuff that seems like an injustice so they can get this said attention. So they say, oh, you know what? It not being backwards compatible sounds like a talking point for social media, where I could sit there and say, that's horrible. What about everybody that invested into your thing? And I'll get attention and likes, and that could be my dopamine hit. So they go online and they be like, well, that's terrible. Meanwhile, this bitch don't even fucking have the VR in general, or any VR for the matter. You can't take these motherfuckers seriously. Like, it really frustrated me. And it's not like corporate shilling or anything like that. I don't have a VR to really complain about it. It doesn't pertain to me. I'm thinking about getting a new one, but guess what? They even said this. We're going to actively make, ports to make it compatible. You got to understand, they've been using that Move controller for the VR1. And that Move controller is old as fuck, man. That was PS3 days. It was actually PS2 days. And then they made it small enough to make it a PS3 peripheral. And it's like, it can't work. The technology is fucking different. Like, you can't, like, this having your cake and eating it type situation is so irritating.
It's interesting because, like, in the VR, wouldn't you have especially with the Move, access to more axes when you're actually using the actual Move itself, like in an actual 3D space, with your own movement yourself. I mean, like, I think that would be, because instead of like trying to get through to the actual like your movements to be read by like something across from you, right? You actually have something that's connected to VR and your moves, and you're actually literally ported to it, and it's inputting all the movements that you're making into the system, and it's reading it as exactly what you're doing, with your hands out on the screen as you're playing. So I mean, it's I don't know, like, it seems more intuitive to me than any of the other things that ever came before.
The Move controller. It's just the movement. The new controller. The new controller does more than just that. One, two, it's not even using the camera anymore to pick up the motions. So you have the six axis that's inside the controller. So these new dual sense controller things that they have now, it has a six axis. It also has, I guess, it's infrared where it can kind of tell where you're at a point in time without the camera, so it's more accurate. That's number one. But the technology is more importantly is completely different. They cross, kind of cross talk to each other in terms of your positioning, the infrared and the six axis, and on top of it, because your hand is surrounded in some sort of dome. With the new controllers, it could tell where your fingers are at any point in time. The whole thing is fucking different, and you can't port that over because the technology is different. Period. It won't work. The developers will have to go back.
I see what you're saying. Seriously.
The developers will have to go back and make it compatible with the new technology. They would have to build the game again, that portion of the game over again, to make it work. That's number one. It's not just about the visuals and head tracking. It doesn't even use the camera anymore. It doesn't use the camera at all. So you don't need the camera.
Imagine all the people who were pissed off about their CDs not working on their iPods anymore. Yeah, that's
we're in the time.
That cutoff eventually happens with the time. That's the thing.
Well, that's what we're dealing with.
We just accept these things with consoles, but we no longer do it anymore.
We don't accept shit anymore. We accept what we don't like. We throw temper tantrums. The gentleman earlier, he was upset about Sony not doing AAA and why are you going to games as a service, and it's like fucking money. That's why. I'm not going to, like, if you owned your business, you're not going to dump millions and millions of dollars for 3 people. That's your answer. You can not like it, but just understand that you're not corporate chilling for this at all. It's just that's the nature of the beast. Like, no one's going to waste money. Like, in your own house, you're not going to sit there and literally have lights on in every fucking room just because you could. You're gonna turn that bitch off so your electricity bill won't be high. You're gonna adjust accordingly, and that's what's going on with these things.
Hey, listen. I wanted to respond to what you were saying about Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
With the the ideal situation that you were talking about for actually like observing people before you kill them, and killing them at a certain time.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of like Puka and Edward made some great statements before, but that was a very interesting thing because I actually played Assassin's Creed, so I could hit more closer to home with at least this statement that you made. But I mean, the old, I guess you could kind of reuse the old sync system where they use your blood sync level, which you're trying to accurately sync yourself with the system and your ancestors' memories. They could have things done with either a timetable as far as that's concerned. If you go outside of that, then it kind of desyncs, and you have to kind of start again. Or you could do it kind of like with the new game, where it's more open world and you get to choose a window of time when you do things. You can choose when to actually do your missions, but you can actually like go even a step further and stalk people throughout the day, and stuff like that. Because this actual game, you can actually speed up time. So I guess that could be a new implementation for the new game, I guess. Yeah.
It kind of sucks too, because the reason why we don't have games where they say come back at 4:00 p.m. is because the convenience of it all. People, I don't feel like waiting. Why I gotta do this? And it kind of takes the immersion out of it. Like even with Horizon Forbidden West, right? She has infinite pockets, essentially. You know what I mean? So you could just keep collecting over and over and over again for the convenience. But at the same time, it takes you out of the immersion. And it makes the combat and the stuff that you collect more trivial. Because you can have infinite pockets. And it's like sometimes you gotta balance this shit out. Like the same thing with stealth games. You have this convenience of I could pop this bitch in his head and he can make all sorts of gurgling sounds and the other AIs won't notice it. They typically should be. They can be programmed to notice it, but like for the convenience and whatnot, they don't allow it to be noticed. So it kind of sucks. It's like people want their instant gratification, want to be their power fantasy and stuff like that, and all this shit sucks. It's ultimately.
I mean, in Assassin's Creed, the thing is, in Assassin's Creed, there are certain missions that you have to do at a certain time of the day. That's the thing. Already in there, and then like to get things to happen, you kind of have to fast forward time.
Yeah, but I'm saying take out. Take out that. I'm saying take out that mission.
Yeah.
I mean, take out that mechanic altogether. If it ain't time yet, it ain't fucking time yet. Fucking do something else.
Okay.
You shouldn't be. You know what I'm saying? You should. It's too convenient for, and I break. It's immersion breaking to me.
But it might be immersion breaking, but the thing is, most of the people that are buying these games are a lot of people who are whales that are spending money on to actually speed up the process of the game's progression itself. They're trying to get past the difficulty of the game as well as the missions. They just want to speed up time and get things done quickly.
So
they don't want to spend their time grinding or doing anything. So I mean,
we're the same thing.
People don't care about immersion. To be
I know, and the same thing is happening with Gran Turismo. Like people don't even fucking want to drive to collect their game. I mean, cars. That's what you've always done, and it's this new generation of people that do. We are literally the new generation. Each generation of people are crafting their own experiences. They're telling the developers.
The same generation.
We are not from the same generation as the people that play.
Are.
We're not from the.
People are prioritizing their time. They're making their money. And
I want to play games that are more immersive than me spending money to beat the game. There's a certain demographic, especially the younger crowd, the ones that play Fortnite, that don't want that. They don't want to spend any time to do any fucking thing. They want it instant, and now I want it now. You know what I'm saying? And that's the reason why people say that Horizon Forbidden West is boring. They just want to have like the most powerful. I shoot 3 arrows at a fucking Thunderjaw and it dies, and I feel good for that moment.
What?
That's what they want. Why is the ticket so long for me to kill this Thunderjaw? It's like all these fucking arrows.
That's completely unrealistic. The fact that you're using arrows to begin with.
I know. I know. And well, I will say this: arrows are actually fucking like powerful as fuck. If you've ever shot an arrow from a bow, you don't want to fuck with that shit. It could be more devastating.
I'm talking about the type of metal that they actually use. For
we don't know what type of metal they use, man. We don't know what the fuck it is. We don't know what it is. And as a matter of fact, Aloy attaches a bomb to the fucking arrow. You can't go that far, but
that makes sense.
But people always have this. I want it dead now. I want this there. I don't want to think about it anymore. I just want what I want right now, right then. And they don't even let the environment or the world or just anything unfold. It is just all that shit is missed. And Horizon Forbidden West is a big example for this. People wanted to play Elden Ring so bad that they just hurried up and played fucking Horizon. They hurried up and played Horizon and try to beat it as quick as possible.
The same thing when Zelda hit.
Huh? No. That was a different time and that was a different situation.
Oh my god, bro! And Zelda's a much longer game too.
What? See, that's the thing. But Zelda wasn't hyped to the fucking heavens as the Elden Ring was. Zelda stood on his own 2 grounds and was like, I mean, people.
Wait. Didn't Elden Ring gain from Zelda's like open world aspect to a certain degree?
We're talking about hype, not what they learned from other games.
Dude, you couldn't find Zelda Breath of the Wild like anywhere.
I could.
Dude, I couldn't find a Switch. I couldn't find a Zelda game.
You couldn't find a Switch, and Switches in general were hard to come by.
Yep.
So that's not indicative of the game. That was just you couldn't find.
I couldn't find a Switch or a Zelda game.
Well, you could because they didn't make it. They usually were bundled, and the thing is, like Zelda wasn't running campaigns with everybody the way that From Software and Elden Ring was. It just wasn't.
More copies of Zelda sold than the Switch itself. But I mean, yeah.
Yeah,
because it was also on the Wii U.
Because it had the Wii U. That's what I was going to say. So that also helped as well. But my whole point is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Is that when it came to Horizon, people sat there and when they played Horizon, they were trying to get that game over with. that 60+ hour game, they tried to condense that shit to fucking 10 hours and blew through that fucking game. It was like, I didn't like none of it. This game is corny. It's I can't kill the enemies the way I want to kill it. I don't like the game. It's boring.
Only 60 if you're gonna platinum it.
No, it's not. That game is long as hell.
Oh, let me see. Because I beat the game already. I don't think it lasts 60 hours.
It's pretty. Unless you did you put it on easy?
No, I play most of my games on hard.
It's not. It's about 60 hours and 80 if you do all the side missions. It's a long game. It's a long game.
I'm gonna platinum it next time. Hold on 1 second. 23 hours, yeah.
I don't think that's reading it right.
Focusing on the main objectives, 23 hours, 44 hours for main side. Yeah, that makes sense. Because it didn't take me 60 hours to do that. You know.
That game for me, and then again, if you're trying to blow through
completion, it's not. Yeah, 60 hours. It's the main and sides. Completion is 60 hours.
Where are you? Hold on, wait. Where are you reading this from?
How long to beat?
That's not accurate, man. That ain't accurate. Because we don't.
No, it says 23 hours for the main story.
Well, you says it. You say it. Well, hold on. Wait. You say it says. What is it?
What? How long to beat?
From what website or what are you reading this from?
Howlongtobeat.com.
Howlongtobeat.com. Does it say the difficulty?
No.
No. Right. You play that game on regular or hard. The Horizon is a difficult game. In general.
Yeah, I only missed like the cauldrons and a couple of extra things, and that was it. I could have platinumed it my first playthrough, and it was like, I don't think slightly under 40.
I'll give you 40 though, depending on how much you want to do. Oh shit.
Yeah. Oh, Dontre wants in. I see him in the chat.
Yeah, let me go in there. Why does the deny look like that? Yo, what you guys say about all this, DeAndre? I'm about to wrap up. Late as hell. All right, I put that fucking message up on Twitter a long time ago.
No, you did, Val. See, you did it with the Val. I'm sorry. But going back with Stage comment about when, Breath of the Wild drop, and also your comment, therapy regarding Horizon being rushed through by people so obsessed over other open world games. So, Stage, just to correct you on what happened during launch, like Zelda as a game, it did sell more units than the actual console on release day. So it was the first product in history to ever hold over 100% attachment rate. Because oh, okay, yeah. Fans bought collector's editions, bought physical copies, digital copies. Like every one Switch owner, we can say, at least bought 4 copies. That means digital, disc, collectors. We can at least Wii U. Yeah, and possibly you. But the game itself wasn't impossible to get because I beat Breath of the Wild on the Wii U because that's the system it was made for, and that's the system I had at the time. I bought the disc, played fine, and my system was loud as hell, and I bought it digital so that way it'd be quiet. And I've never had any issues finding the game, even seeing it at GameStops for Switches. Not saying that you're wrong or anything. If it's not available in your territory, your area, that's fine. But worldwide, it wasn't impossible. It could be available for some people where it isn't elsewhere.
But it wasn't. It's not historically.
The physical copy and
it's not
the actual Switch at the same time.
It's not historically known that it was difficult to pick up. The whole Switch and everything else with it was difficult to pick up, and it didn't have the hype anywhere close to Elden Ring.
Breath had plenty of hype, man.
No, but it had hype based off of its own. Let me say what I'm going to say. It didn't have the hype. Okay, Zelda was Zelda. It always was Zelda. You know what I'm saying? And it's only on the Switch. You have Elden Ring, which isn't proving at all, and it did the numbers that it did. It broke records. You know what I'm saying, for what it did, and so did Zelda. But like I said before, it was a different type of it had more hype. Elden Ring. And my point is that people don't allow themselves to sit in and enjoy and marinate. They just fucking want to hurry up and just hurry up and beat it so they can get to Elden Ring. And then now people are coming back to Horizon like, oh, this was a pretty good game, you know. But that was my whole point.
But don't you think that's also a breaker of immersion as well? Because I mean, these companies are actually. It's just kind of like the question you're asking about what your ideal game is. Well,
what's a breaker of immersion?
These companies are looking at these analytics and they're watching what these people are doing and they're investing into it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing. Like, that's one of the reasons why these games are becoming so, like, economically like disorienting for a lot of gamers who want immersion to begin with, because a lot of people don't have time anymore and they're getting older. And I'll say it. Millennials are getting older. You know,
they're going to eventually stop. They're going to
the majority of gamers are millennials.
They're going to stop playing games altogether once they get too old. That's the whole thing. So the people that are stomping their feet and folding their arms about where things are changing is due to what people are wanting. Sony delivered. They basically were like, okay, cool. No one's finishing our games. They can see the analytics with the PSN. They can clearly see what trophies are being got during that time, and that's what's going on. You know, that's why
The Last of Us 2 has a 50% rate to actually beat the game.
What about it?
That's more than most games.
What about it? You're taking numbers. Okay, so here's the thing that's frustrating. You're taking hold on, wait. You're taking things out of context completely, right?
Okay.
There you can literally stop the AI from really moving by putting the game on easy. You gotta understand the context of what the context is with those numbers.
I'm saying even in Red Dead, dude.
You can't do what you can do in The Last of Us and Red Dead. You can't change the difficulty in Red Dead like that.
Yeah, but Red Dead is a fairly easy game.
It is no. You saying it's a fairly easy game when you can literally turn off the AI in The Last of Us Part 2.
I guess you can, but I'm saying I didn't do that. But
I'm just saying that you didn't do it. So now you're trying to move the goalposts and saying that, oh, okay, I didn't do it, but there's a 50%. I'm telling you why it has a 50%. I'm telling you why it has a 50% success rate.
I don't think we know for sure.
It's pretty fucking known. It's known. There was a lot of people that had that game and they turned this shit on easy so they can beat the fucking game. Period. You give somebody the ability to turn off the game and put it into story mode where you can give yourself a whole bunch of. If you just listen, you keep talking over me. You turn off the AI and give yourself the maximum resources. How fast you think you're gonna beat the fucking game?
Obviously, it's gonna be quicker.
It's gonna be quicker and it's gonna be easier to do.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, Red Dead is a fairly easy game itself.
Red Dead is a much longer game too.
Last of Us was like 30 hours.
Red Dead is an open world game that is historically way longer than most games.
Okay. Yeah. And the thing is that.
So what are you going to do now? You're going to go online and be like, oh, how long the things are? You're like, just use your own common sense. Like you know this shit. They're going online. They don't give you no damn context on what it is. I never took those numbers seriously.
No, but I'm saying that they would need to use analytics now that they're using sliders and things like that.
They have analytics already, but I don't have to eat a whole cow to taste a piece of beef, period, point blank. This started happening when they gave people sliders. Sony games normally wasn't historically... No, huh?
There would be variables. We would have to account for variables.
We already see what happened before the sliders and what happened after the sliders. We clearly see it. For all the Sony games that they released, not many people fucking beat them until the sliders were introduced.
Yeah, probably. I don't know, but probably. I'm not.
Why do these college people come on here and just want to argue all the time, man? I don't understand what the argument is. Why just like why? You like when you argue, you just sit there and you're like, oh, I beg to differ without any substantiating facts or nothing.
Dude, I'm saying I can't say anything about that right now.
But why'd you bring it up? You brought up 50%, and then when somebody, but then when somebody challenged you, you're like, you know what? I don't want to give an answer right now because somebody challenged me.
No, because of the fact that I can't actually speak to those things that you're actually.
And then you throw your own anecdotal information. You throw your own anecdotal information talking about something. Well, I'll beat in this time. You either go with anecdotal information or what you can visibly, what you can see. But there's already information on when the sliders happened and what it did. This is one of the reasons why Sony made it easier for people to get trophies and a whole bunch of things for their games. People were not beating these games and not seeing a thing through. The same thing with Horizon. Horizon does not have a fucking slider. They added a story mode in there, and then that's when you get the inflated things, the numbers for completion. It ain't that hard to piece together. Like, I don't understand. Like, people have college fucking degrees and can't piece together 1 + 1. Like, I don't get it.
Dude, I was just saying I would have to see the analytics. That's all I'm saying.
Even if you saw the analytics, you still would have defaulted to something. You would default to something else. Like the times that I have a conversation with you, when you are put in a corner, you find some way to get out of the fucking corner by saying I don't know or give these nebulous answers, so you can't be wrong.
What? Wait, hold on. So since when did saying I don't know become a bad thing?
You brought up.
It's a sign of ego to tell people you know things that you don't.
You brought up an information, right? You brought up a piece of information.
Yes.
Because you were trying to allude the conversation to somewhere else. And then when somebody challenged you, it's like, why did you even bring up the fact that it was a 50% completion rate? What was your point of bringing that up? If you didn't have all the information as to why it happened, then that statement wouldn't have been made.
Explain why in the actual article, did they?
Well, huh?
Yeah,
go on, DeAndre.
Okay. Stage, do you own a PlayStation platform?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so whether it's a PS4 or PS5.
Yeah, so it was written in the articles.
All right, well, here, like you can actually test the theory out yourself. So you know these consoles have like achievements and trophies.
Yeah, of course.
So if you want to know what game was beaten, you can check the trophy and see the percentage rate. You might not know how many units it sold,
exactly.
But the higher the percentage, you can confidently say that majority of people who bought the game did beat it. So
of the people who downloaded it and played it,
so the people who play like Last of Us 2 and it showed over 50% beat the story, at least one, we can confidently say like majority of people who bought it did beat the game. To just playing it and dropping it within the first hour.
Yeah.
Okay.
No argument there. No. That's all I said. He made it into a thing of it's because they put in sliders. I'm like, regardless of the fact.
Okay, so let's throw like context completely out the window so we can win an argument. Is that what we're gonna do?
No. That's adding things to it. But I'm just saying.
No, but like, what's the point of bringing up there was a 50%? Why did you bring that up?
Well, we have to go back to the original.
Okay, you're telling me what you have to do, but I'm asking the question of why did you bring it up?
Huh?
Why did you bring up the amount of people that beat the game?
Because now that we've gone through all this, I kind of forgotten, dude.
Yeah, it's cool. I was trying to conclude it though. At least Stage can actually experiment and test it himself and see. The trophies are public. The percentage are public. You can't
all games that are easy. This is what I'm saying. Where's the critical thinking nowadays? This is what really pisses me off nowadays. Every game that is easy and have some popularity to it, you're going to always run across it having a high percentage rate. With the exception of fucking the Souls games. And one of the reasons why that's high is because people can go online and find the builds and then beat the fucking game or beat it with co-op. It doesn't take you don't have to have a degree or be a scientist to understand if you can easily beat a game, you can complete it. I'm saying that the completion rate is artificial when it comes to those games, including Horizon Forbidden West. Is a lot of Sony games, because they gave you the ability to have the fucking story mode in there. It is artificial. That's all I'm saying. I don't like using those numbers because it doesn't make any sense to use those numbers. It doesn't tell me anything. Did you even enjoy it? People just be beating things to beat things. Yeah, people playing My Little Pony and fucking power washing. Did you really enjoy it? We don't know.
So wait, so therapy, are you mad because games have become more accessible with more user friendly approaches of having guides and things people can look up and co-op? Are you more upset that people aren't challenging themselves, or
I'm not upset about that at all, right? Not at all. I would like for trophies to reflect, right? Who, like earn your trophies essentially, or earn your
like
gamer tag.
difficulty trophies, like hard
Yeah,
mode,
yeah.
crushing mode?
You should not be rewarded for making the game easy and completing it. That's what I would say. I don't care. I don't care. Like if somebody wants to beat a game really quickly to experience just the story and keep it moving, fine. But you shouldn't get trophies for it like that. Now,
Yeah,
that's
I agree.
that's what I'm saying. My argument, and this always happens with Stage, is that Stage likes to argue. He likes to play devil's advocate a lot, and he likes to, that's what he likes to do. Like he'll just put in something and like to give a counter argument for some reason.
Yeah,
Even
it's
if,
okay though. Well, let's just come to a neutral understanding: is that you prefer difficulty trophies where it rewards you for playing on hard difficulty without assistance, like no co-op, no accessibility, nothing. Just say if it's on very hard, beat on very hard how the developers intended, compared to someone else who rushed to the game on easy, they shouldn't get the trophies. I agree with you 100%.
I don't
It's just
I don't mind the hard games or easy games. I don't necessarily want to be fucking pulling my hair out the roots either to try to beat a game. Like I said before, you should not get rewarded for putting a game on the easiest. As a matter of fact, I'm looking at The Last of Us right the fuck now, right? And I'm gonna tell you what the sliders are. This is why I thought that the numbers were fugazi anyway. If I go into the fucking menu system right now and go into difficulty, you can take the player's resistance in terms of their health and you can max that bitch out where you're so resistant to hits, whatever the AI can do. And in terms of the enemies, you can reduce that. You can reduce it to having their accuracy fucked up, their melee combos fucked up, their movement speed fucked up, how they can encounter you or see you to be fucked up. So they are basically blind, deaf, and dumb, and you have mad fucking health, right? Then your allies, you can beat them up to be intelligent, so like they can just do the killing for you. And in stealth, you can be basically invisible. And then you consider that you can literally, for the resources, amp that shit the fuck up to a point where it's always ammo everywhere. Of course, I'll beat the game and finish it.
yeah, I understand though.
So when people try to say that, oh, there isn't really a problem with this, because guess what? I see statistics that says that 50% of the people beat the game. Well, how did they beat it exactly? And then when I challenge them to say that, oh, they beat it because they made the shit easy. Oh, I don't know about that. I need to see some evidence. When we all know that easy games get beat. I don't understand why that's a difficult concept. It's a popular game. It was very controversial when it came out. People wanted to see it through the end to see what the fuck happened with Ellie and Abby, and they turned that bitch on easy. I don't know why you need to see the complete proof. Like, do you need to fucking pick up gravity and feel it, lick it, touch it to realize that gravity exists? Or do you just know it exists?
Yeah, that's fine.
You
compare your same logic with the first game, which did have a difficulty for each trophy, and then like especially with the PS4 and PS3 version, you can clearly see who beat on easy and the percentage who beat on the hardest. There's a massive difference in skill level, and that didn't have any accessibility features, so you couldn't turn off the AI, you couldn't max out your health with any accessibility features because the game was built ground up not to support those type of features we have today.
That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. And like that, the reason why that number 50% was thrown off, it's not Stage that's bothering me. It's just I hear a lot of people that always likes to just be devil's advocates all the fucking time or want to debate things that shouldn't be debated. Like, why is the sky really blue though? How do you know that your cones and rides aren't malfunctioning? And your brain isn't like, come on, bro. Like, it's you don't need all that. It's a pet peeve of mine. It's not stage problem at all. It's just a pet peeve because I dealt with this shit in school where people just did not use. They just wanted to argue. That's what it felt like.
Yeah, I understand. Well, what other topic did you want to bring up?
That was that. We were talking about AAA games and shit like that, right? And what ended up happening with like if it's what do you call it, sustainable or not? And we found out that it is sustainable, but it's just that these companies don't want to take the loss of it. You know what I mean? They want to supplement the money or budget by doing games as a service.
Yeah.
What did you before we close out of here? Oh, I have two questions for you. Question number one.
Okay.
What do you think, if you can make this very quick, what do you think would elevate AAA games nowadays for this generation?
What elevates them?
What would elevate them past where we are at now? Because the whole cinematic experience is getting old to me. I need gameplay.
Yeah. Alright, shoot. You talking about game design or with marketing? Which one we doing?
No, we're talking about game design. What would make it more innovative? Like, put the budget to use.
Sheesh. Honestly, it's like, because everything, like with AAA games, the foundations have already been done since the 360 and PS3 era, and it's really hard to make something that stands out for it. Like, the only thing people have done to make stuff different is like higher frame rate and graphical fidelity, but
what's his name? Stage Block was like, he doesn't believe these consoles are actually good enough to good enough to make a what do you call it, an innovative experience.
I mean, from his point of view, he has to be very specific because in the day, both of these next gen systems are designed with specific like key features that make them stand out. Like Sony wanted to enhance people's experience with a revolutionary controller, the DualSense. So some people might make it where, like, I like the haptics. They make more realistic shooting, more realistic bow, more realistic climbing, make me feel more immersed. Other people feel like I prefer the Xbox control layout. It's traditional. I like the same old play style, and it's natural. So it's like he has to really be specific on which one's not what he believes is not showing. Because in my opinion, from my experience, every time I go from my PC to my PS5, I'm feeling a quality difference when it comes to game design, like, you know, Returnal, for example, and even with games like, you know, multiplayer games like Road Company. When I play on my PS5, those haptics are kicking in. When I play on my PC with my same DualSense, I'm not feeling the haptics. There's a difference. Even though the gameplay is the same, but when I'm pulling that trigger, I'm feeling a difference between both platforms. So.
Well, we were trying to get it out of him, and he was just like, I don't want to say anything because if I do, it's like I don't. It's a fantasy, and, you know. He was like just third person. Like he mentioned it. You have to look at the podcast afterwards, and I have to split the podcast for it or whatever, because I'm not exactly. I don't want to misquote what he was saying, but he was basically, from what I gathered, he didn't want to like. He said third person shooters is what he likes, but then I didn't know what exactly about the third person shooter that needed to be elevated, and that's what I was asking. And that's what I was kind of curious about anyway, because I was like, I think I asked the question very specifically, and he was just like, I don't think there's anything that could be done. I'm like, well, what about your fantasy? What would you want? And he's like, I don't think it could be done. Like, it was a lot to pull out of the situation. You know, we all gave different examples, which you will be able to hear within the podcast and stuff like that, and you'll be able to hear that.
I went to third-person action games. I guess I should have said that outside of like the, you know, the shooting aspect, but the actual like AI, getting used to the style of gameplay that you use. But of course, somebody also had said before, that would actually like shoo people away from actually playing the game. So that makes.
Yeah, well, you okay? Now I remember what you said. Now that I think about it, he was like he wants more engaging experiences with the AI when he plays the third person shooters. Is what he says.
Yep. Like and grander scripting. If it's like a GTA type game, I want them to turn that up to 11 so I can have more choices and immerse myself more. Like I can like the game kind of like can organically respond to you, not in a completely realistic way, but more organically than it's already happening. Like the closest thing we've seen so far is Red Dead Redemption, where the world is more organically responding to people. You know, where they're already the AI is already scripted this to do certain things and to say certain things. If you hit them, you know, there's a different line of you actually feel like you're in that world. You know, that's what I mean. But like I want them to take it up to another 11. You know.
The other thing I wanted to ask you, DeAndre, right, is uh, do you think that AAA is sustainable?
Shit, bro, that question is very tricky nowadays, man. Honestly, like during the PS4 era, like AAA, I definitely saw it was sustainable. Nowadays, with how the market is very shifting heavily on games as service and microtransaction free to play model, it's kind of hard now because it's only been, in my opinion, the ones who've actually been heavily invested in AAA from a platform owner has been Sony. Yeah, we have our third-party AAA games, but it's like a lot of them don't have that level of quality factor into it. Like, you know, like when you play a Sony game like Last of Us and Uncharted, and then you go ahead and play a third-party AAA game, you can see the night and day difference because a lot of things they don't really pay attention to detail. Like, let the model actually get wet in the water. Some of these games, they don't do it. But it's hard, man. Everyone's so accustomed to, like, they want to have everything on subscriptions. They want games released in alpha state so they can brag about it. Like, oh, we got this game in alpha. Haha, my console's better than yours. It's hard, man. Like, if Microsoft wasn't conditioning everyone to just subscribe to stuff, then I could be like, yeah, it's sustainable. Now it's more of, let's give you a 20% of the product and make you pay 5 years until it's finished now. I don't know, it's hard, man.
That's what I was saying too. I think it's sustainable, but they want to make, because they see that the economy is like it's weak. The economy is like really fucked up, and they don't want to be at razor thin margins, and then something happens and they lose a lot of money. So they're all looking to do the games as a service to supplement it. I think the future of this is to create their own little universe, kind of like Grand Theft Auto, have their single player experience, but then use that same all the assets and systems and make that into a multiplayer game where people buy clothes and shit like that. That's what I think is going on.
But like the Grand Theft Auto situation, that's like strike and go. Like not every game will ever have a chance.
I know. I know.
It's gonna be like a handful of games, if any, that ever get anywhere near, and there's always gonna be like that one or two of that at the top.
Right.
But I think with AAA games in general, outside of the marketing and budget aspect, denotes high risk in general.
But yeah, and the thing is, I think that
it's a game that is of high risk.
I think that they're aware of this, right? This is why they're making 10. So they probably was like, let's spend about $1.5 billion on this risk, and that's how much we can absorb if it all fucks up. If at least 2 of these 10 subscription services or models be successful, at least it can make about $1 billion a year. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's what they're banking on. They allotted a certain amount of budget for failure, but if they can make it,
games can bring down a publisher.
Yeah, but that's what I was saying before in my other podcast. I think that when they develop their single player games, they're developing their single player games with multiplayer in mind, or some sort of games and service in mind. Whereas it's like, again, Ghost of Tsushima, Horizon, you know, you're going to get a certain amount of money because they're single player, but really You can literally take those same systems and make it into some sort of games as a service. And I think they know this, so they're not investing too much money on the games as a service because it was already designed in play. They're intertwined. You know what I'm saying? So if it does fail, they're like, well, we still made our money off of the actual, single player experience. I think they know exactly what the fuck they're doing. And watch,
Of course I do.
when you see next year that they release the DLC for Horizon and the multiplayer that I keep talking about, then I don't want to hear nothing. Everybody knows I've been shouting this on the rooftops about this coming out. I don't want to hear nothing. I already know what I'm doing. I see it. I got my sharing guy.
You trying to put a DLC for Horizon Forbidden West?
Am I trying to?
Is that what you're hoping for?
I'm not hoping. It will happen.
I'm sure it's coming.
I'm still waiting for Last of Us Part 2 DLC, man.
I never.
2 years.
Yeah.
Unless it's like a multiplayer or something like that. Is that what you mean, Doctor?
No, I legit expect like how Last of Us, the first one had the Left Behind DLC that came out a year after the game originally released on the PS3. So
that told like a little
yeah, it was a prequel to Ellie's friendship and stuff and how she got
Bro,
infected.
the way that this game, like I said, I think the leak fucked this whole game up. I'm playing it right now actually, but I think the leak fucked this whole game up, and just the backlash that they've gotten from the game. I think they dropped all that shit, and I think it's all hands on deck for this games as a service, Last of Us type shit. And they're probably trying to think of a way for people to like not be mad at them when they do games as a service, and they probably gotta wait. So I was asking myself this question because when I look at The Last of Us Part 1 that they just released, I clearly see that could have been done on a PS3 easily, and PS4, excuse me, easy. You just got to tweak the settings, and it could have been done.
Yeah, we know it can clearly run on the PS4.
But here's the thing, but here's the thing, right? People would have been pissed if it was on a PS4, right? And you already have a remaster on a PS4.
Too funny, man.
That's why they were like, no, fuck it. You know what we're going to do? We're going to say that it's built for the ground up for the PS5, and that way we can, and more people are buying games on the PS5 than the PS4
was
anyway.
that the game that you were looking at the sliders for?
No, I was playing The Last of Us Part 2.
Okay, gotcha.
No, the Last of Us Part 1 has those sliders too. They built it in there.
Yeah, I heard they doubled down on it to make it more accessible.
Horizon has it too.
Well, it seems to be Sony wide now.
Horizon is like, yo, they're like, we spent all that fucking money to making these environments. You bitch, you gonna finish my shit tonight. So that's what they're doing. But I'm gonna wrap this shit up. It has been great talking to you all. It's a pet peeve stage. I can't help myself. I don't like to argue. I've lived with 6 sisters and 1 grandmother, and all of them argued. I don't like to debate. I debate well. I don't like it. It's very tiring when you can clearly see, you can draw the lines. You know what I'm saying? You can clearly see like something's going on. I can't prove it because I'm not working for Sony, but I don't need to have the fucking statistics because it shows.
No, yeah, I unless I have the definitive answer, I don't like to say things.
They don't have a definitive answer when it comes to the theory of electricity and shit like that, but it works.
Oh my god, here we go.
No, I'm being serious. Because electricity is working with quantum theory. As a matter of fact, lasers works with quantum theory. They know it's most likely to happen, but it's not guaranteed 100% of the time. It's guaranteed 98% of the time. But you know what I mean? Nothing is certain in this existence that we live in. So to wait for something certain is ridiculous to me, especially when our universe don't work that way. But we can draw the lines. We can clearly see like there's parallels to certain things.
Yeah, but
I'm just saying you don't have a game that is.
Despite us knowing the tree fell in the forest, it could still fall. Could have still fallen.
It could, but you be spending all day not knowing and waiting for an answer that will never come.
I know. I'm just saying. No, I'm just
You
saying.
gotta make it. You gotta draw the line in the sand. You gotta draw the line in the
That's
sand
the
somewhere.
concept of the analytics. Yeah.
I mean, think about this. If you decide to get married, how do you know she's gonna not cheat on you? You don't. If you're waiting for her, if you're waiting to find a woman that's not gonna
Unless you're
cheat on
talking
you,
about red pill stuff, then you know for sure.
if you're waiting for a chick to find a chick that's not gonna cheat on you, then you're gonna be waiting until death. Sometimes you just gotta take risks. It's what it is.
Yeah, of course.
I took an educated guess.
Cheating or leaving you, because if you're talking about leaving, you can leave for a much wider variety of reasons. Cheating, the actual number would probably go down, would it not?
It will go down, but we're talking about making a decision based off of if she's going to cheat on you or not. So if you're like, I don't ever want to be cheated on, so I'm waiting for the right woman to not cheat on me, then nothing is certain.
Yeah.
It's not even certain for the other party, because maybe she likes you.
I see where you're going.
That's all I'm saying. You make up your mind. You draw the line in the sand at some point, so you can be like, okay, cool, I get it. You know what I'm saying? And then be done with it. And then if you're wrong with this shit, or if somebody can find better information, just like in science, science they make decisions, they make these educated guesses all over the place. And if something proves it wrong, then it is what it is. That's all I'm saying.
You still have to prove a theory at the end of the day.
They prove it enough. They don't prove it with absolute certainty. I know that for a fact.
You were talking about gravity. That's a theory that was already proven.
What was it?
Sorry, my phone died.
Oh, gravity. No. Gravity is still, they still don't know what gravity is. They know it exists. But they don't know, there's nothing, you can't capture gravity and hold it.
Of course.
We don't know what it is. But we do know.
We still follow the concept.
Scientists have already captured gravity. They create their own gravity. That's why, magnetism and stuff, how it has resistance and things. Like, they've already tested it. Like, they captured it. Like, they know how to create gravity around objects to make them rotate. They understand how gravity works.
And understanding zero gravity as well.
So,
and they also do zero gravity. That's how, people who skydive, they do the zero gravity test where they where you get falling.
So wait. Send me that link in terms of they capture gravity.
Like, I'm just saying, like, how magnet works and stuff.
They understand a force, right? That they cannot see. They can understand it because they know what it will do to other things, but they can't prove it exists.
But they can simulate it. Like, that's what I mean. They can make a simulation that manipulates gravity.
Like what?
It's like a gravity chamber.
What is this gravity chamber? Does it include centrifugal force?
Man, I can't go in full detail. I'm just letting you know. Magnets are like probably
if it's talking about centrifugal force spinning something really fast, and you stick to the walls or something, that's not gravity.
No, it's not that. What I mean is what like how force functions. You look at magnets, like two positives won't touch no matter what you do. They always repel each other.
I know, but that's still something that you can't see. It's a force that you can't see.
Oh yeah, like air. We can't see air, but we know it exists.
Well, we can see air if you have an electroscope. Yeah.
Only if it's mixed with other
air. All air is molecules in the air. I mean, molecules in the space. That's all air is. So you can see air. What you can't see is the force for magnetism or gravity or any of those things. If they can't take gravity and distill it into a sphere and have that shit just be its own, like, or have another sphere orbit it, if they're just simulating it based off of something else, if they can't capture it, then you can't prove it.
Is that
Robin?
No, I mean it makes sense. If you want some irrefutable proof, no different than air, then I guess that's a little different.
That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that. Like, all I'm saying is that not everything you don't need. You can test the effects of something.
They've already simulated zero gravity, so. But at the same time, you're talking about capturing it.
Yeah, you can simulate zero gravity, and the zero gravity that they simulated, I mean, a lot of the times it has something to do with motion and stuff like that. Simulation and actual is different, because you can simulate a world in a video game space, and that's not our world. It simulates it. It's not it, though.
Yeah, and we also go out into space as well. So, but that's
that's
the
not.
question we have to ask ourselves is how are they simulating it?
Yeah,
That's the thing.
they're not simulating. They're not simulating zero gravity in space. It just is. It's nothing. The presence of gravity is very low in space.
Yeah.
That's why you start to float. But if you're on Earth, there's no way for you to subtract gravity because the Earth is creating it. You can't take a point of Earth and be like, no gravity. No. So you got to find ways of simulating it, but it's not taking away gravity or moving it somewhere else or whatever the case is. I do this shit. I study this shit on my spare time. Don't fuck with me. Don't. This is my forte, yo. I love this shit. I'm trying to transcend my existence somewhere the fuck else. One of these days I'm gonna be on a podcast and I'm gonna be like, yeah. So I played. I'm just gonna disappear. And nobody ever see me again.
Why?
Because I'm gonna.
Why make these podcasts, man?
I'm gonna find out the secret of transcending space and time and matter.
Transcend those viewers, man. That viewership, man.
I know,
Make
for
sure
real.
that thing goes up, man.
I need to. Yeah,
you have to be seen. You have a good thing to say, and you have a lot of good topics to talk about. You know, I mean, you want to be seen. You don't want to disappear. Come on, man.
I would like not disappear like in some suicidal thought. I'm just saying like
no. I don't mean that. I don't mean that. But
no, I'm just saying if I could find a way to get off this fucking plane of existence and something higher, I would. I'm just letting you know.
The dimension.
This shit is boring. It's boring. That's why I play video games. I like to see other fucking creations instead of what we see here.
Read books.
Huh?
Or read books that talk about more fantastical things or even science fiction things.
Yeah, I like the Earth has a lot of interesting shit in it, and I really wish that people would stop being so like shallow. You know what I'm saying? Like for me, the human mind is in itself worth being explored. Like my mind functions different from blocks, but why? It's weird. You know what I mean? Like what makes us?
There's so many different variations and ways that things can turn out when there's so many of us on this planet.
Exactly. So you have an infinite. We
all are similar, but we have our own individual minds.
You look. Here's the thing. It's infinite in entertainment. This to figure out people. That's all I'm saying. It's very interesting.
Yeah. Of course.
Because in someone's mind, it's like its own universe. You know.
Yeah, I mean, it's a more complex thing than we understand. But I mean, at some point, somebody will probably like bottle it somewhat to be explainable to most people. You know.
You want to know something that's funny, right? Before I close out, I wanted this podcast to be 30 minutes. I was like an hour tops. 30 minutes for one topic, 30 minutes for the other. And then, because I didn't think nobody was going to...
It's never that simple.
I didn't think anybody was going to join in there. I was like, I'll be in and out this bitch. And I'll be good. I'll say what I need to say about what I'm thinking, and that's it. And then... I'll divide it.
It's never that simple.
It's weird because some days no one's there because everyone's like crazy busy, you know what I'm saying? And other days it is. So what I'm going to do with this podcast is I'm going to start doing this. If it's long like this, I'm going to start dividing the sections and stuff like that. Do part 1, 2, and 3 and shit like that. So I think that this was interesting, but no one's going to sit for 3 hours. Unless, see, for me, it works perfectly. Because I drive sometimes I drive far as hell, you know what I'm saying? It's just I'll just listen to the whole thing, but you know what I mean? And it works, you know. But for other people, I'm gonna divide it up, chop and screwed and shit. But anyway, let me get the fuck out of here. Look, I have a YouTube channel. It's Illicit Therapy. All this is recorded and it looks better. You know, you can rewind it and everything like that, and it stays on the YouTube channel. So I would appreciate you guys give me a follow, or a like, whatever the case is, because you know YouTube be hating on people that could think for themselves. So unfortunately. But yeah, thank you guys for joining. Thank you guys for showing up. I really appreciate it. And you guys all take care. Happy gaming.
Later.
And I'm out.
Happy gaming.